Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Chatham Select Board meeting of June 16, 2026. Please let the record show the meeting started at 5:33 p.m. I'll read what I'm supposed to read. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can access the proceedings as provided for in that order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072-1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. And we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as is possible. First order of business this evening is to establish a quorum of the Chatham Select Board. To do so, I will call the roll. Mr. Smith.
Present.
Ms. Potash.
Present.
Mr. Metters.
Present.
And Mr. Dykens is present as well.
Castro.
Mr. Nicastro.
Present.
You know, Dean, I've got to get retrained here. You're part of the role, so Dean is online this evening. And the next order of business is to approve the minutes of June 9th, 2026, and a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, any comments, edits, suggestions on the minutes of June 9th, 2026? Look to Mr. Nicastro. Is your hand up, Mr. Nicastro? Okay. All right. Hearing seeing none, I have none as well. We'll call the roll. Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Potash.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
The chair says aye. And Mr. Nicastro?
Aye.
Thank you, Dean. Okay. The next item is public announcements and agenda item requests. I know some of the members of the board have some announcements and/or agenda item. I think, Ms. Potash, you had a couple?
I have two announcements.
Okay.
That came to my attention. Two announcements that came to my attention. The first one, this is a reminder that the deadline for applying to the Taxation Aid Committee for tax assistant is July 1. Applications are available at the Treasurer Collector's Office at Town Hall, or you can download the application from the Chatham Taxation Aid Committee's webpage or from the Treasurer Collector's webpage. The link is on both pages as well as on the assessor's webpage. This aid is for income qualifying seniors 65 or older, or for income qualifying disabled citizens. The requirements and all the necessary documentation are fully explained in the application package. All applications and supporting documentation are wholly confidential. All awards will be applied directly against fiscal 2027 property tax bills, which will be issued in November of this year. That concludes that announcement. I have one more. On a different note, so Shireen Davis of Chatham was honored as Cape Cod Women of the Year last week at Barnstable. She was nominated by Chatham's longtime employee, Shauna Neely. Shireen was presented with the Mercy Otis Warrant Award for her decades of leadership, specifically in the fields of sustainable fisheries, environmental stewardship, and community advocacy. Shireen served on this board from 2017 until last May. And so I'm sure we all could join in congratulating Shireen, Cape Cod Woman of the Year.
Awesome. Congratulations, Shireen. Very true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Mr. Smith, did you have your hand up?
Well, just briefly, I was hoping, there's been some movement recently, but maybe we could review some of my agenda requests. I looked at one of them, and it goes back to last August.
Heaven forbid.
Yes, heaven forbid. So just like to maybe clear some of those if we could.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Message of the chair. And, okay, Corey, anything? Dean, you have anything this evening? Okay, I just have one request or a question. It's been suggested that, and maybe this is for Park and Rec, but I just want to have it on the agenda list so that we don't forget. A bubbler at Volunteer Park would be cool. Park and Rec, it might be a little pain, but I think we have a bubbler at Seaside Links. It's right about halfway. It's pretty good. So just maybe get a freshwater bubbler there at some point, for this summer especially.
So to translate, a bubbler is a water
A
fountain.
water fountain, there you go, bubbler.
All right,
Water
thank
fountain. Okay. Anything else from the board? Okay, hearing and seeing none. We have some folks in line here. Mr. Buckley has his hand up. Stephen Buckley.
Thank you. Yes, Steve Buckley. I haven't watched every select board meeting since the change in chairmanship. So I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, I'm wondering if there's a different protocol compared to the previous chair about making suggestions and having, and in that case, I made one late last year and emailed him my request and addition, following up with a request at the microphone. So I'm wondering, should I do that again? Because I'd like to, perhaps this chair would have a different opinion about my request. I just wanted to follow the protocol. Go ahead.
It sounds as though this chair is treating the public and board members very similarly. So I will take a look at your request along with Mr. Smith's.
Okay,
Well, there has been no change in protocol.
Okay, fine. Then, but in this case, I might, because nobody saw his decision about the request, because it only was between him and I and maybe the town manager, I don't know, but it wasn't through the rest, so nobody would know, hey, maybe I'd want to bring that up, like add it to the list of Stuart or whatever.
Okay.
You know, so it just doesn't go into some electronic file in that case. So anyway, that's my request. I will reiterate the request for a communications advisory committee.
Okay.
And
All righty.
as an example of that, it has to do the announcement. I just wanted to reiterate that it's been made on the town's website that there are major, our primary, one of our two intersections is subject to a public hearing next week, I believe, or the 24th, whatever the 24th is in the board. Select board, of course, is going to convene at the very same time. And so this only happened once before that I was aware of. It was with the West Chatham roadway project. And of course, there was a lot of discord, let's say, about the West Chatham project that I believe could have been prevented if people had communicated better, if the process allowed for that. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that the notice on the website, on our website, that our community engagement person, Shauna Neely, put up earlier this week or sometime, is incorrect because it says Mass DOT does not allow remote participation at its public hearings. And I don't know if that was a miscommunication. I did follow up with Shauna to say, well, they're doing it in other towns, so I don't understand why that is. And I asked Mass DOT to clarify that. And hopefully they can clear that up, why they prefer not to have remote participation or something. But that's an example of where a communications advisory committee could advise, that these things are proactive, so to speak, and not say woulda, coulda, shoulda, because if it only happens every 12 years for a roadway project like this, then, that's not going to happen too many more times for people our age, Mr. Chair. So thank you. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, Mr. Buckley, thank you.
The 25% design that is listed there is unsigned. If you actually go to the link that the town has for that project, the public involvement specialist left HSH, our consultant, 4 years ago. So his phone number doesn't work, his email doesn't work. It says, hey, if you want to know more, call me. 4 years ago. And so I'm guessing that whatever 25% design is listed there that's undated is people should not look at that and say, oh, here's what's going to be presented. So anyway, I just wanted to show that's examples of where, yes, a community advisory board would help catch these things before they confuse people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley, for your input, and a reminder that there is a Mass DOT hearing next on the 24th from 4 to 6 in this room. And I want to remind folks, this is not a Board of Select Board hearing. This is a Mass DOT public hearing to hear comment about the intersection, the Crowell Road intersection downtown, okay? Mass DOT, we will be there, or most of us will be there, and so we have to post it as a Select Board meeting because of the open meeting law. However, it is not our meeting per se. Okay. Mr. Phillips?
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. This is an agenda item request, I guess for the board to take into consideration town employees, people that work for the town of Chatham, who are not residents, get the resident fee. So like for Seaside, if you're a town employee and you're not a resident of the town, you only have to pay the resident fee for Seaside. Same with like the beach sticker, stuff like that. Does that make sense?
You're asking for our town employees to have the same financial status at Seaside and the beaches as a resident?
Yes.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Any other public announcements and/or agenda item requests? I see that, I believe Elaine Gibbs has her hand up. Elaine, floor is yours.
Yes, I'd just like a clarification on what Steve Buckley said. I'm confused now. Are we going to be able to participate remotely?
Well, I just want to, we're going to find out. I'm going to look to Shauna for information there. Shauna is here, Elaine.
Yeah, okay. Because we're not going to be able to fit everybody in that room.
Yeah, no, I know.
So Tom Courier in a prep meeting indicated that only the attendees in the room would be able to offer input and that there would not be a remote link to the meeting. And they have not included any kind of link in their advertisement for the public hearing, so.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that. They were going to provide a link to the public before the hearing. Has that been posted yet? Does anybody know if that's live yet?
The video was not posted as of this morning. when
Can we follow up with that and make sure that they post that video? I would think that's really important to get, in terms of communication, Mr. Buckley, that we get that out there. Okay.
So
And then we can, if I might, we can also maybe revisit with the DOT that, we're pretty well set up to have Colin here, so do they know how high-tech we are? I think we need to revisit that, and I think we should, because I think public participation in this hearing is very important. So. I
all
think-
our other public hearings have remote.
Yeah.
Mass DOT should. We pay their bills.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Elaine. Any other input this evening for agenda item requests and/or announcements? Hearing, seeing none, we will turn. We have a series of public hearings this evening, the first of which is to consider an application for a new annual entertainment license for outdoor amplified live and recorded music for Chatham Inn Partners, LLC, doing business as the Chatham Inn, which is located at 359 Main Street, Chatham. And to the end, to start the public hearing, I will ask the clerk to please read the public notice.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Notice is hereby given that the Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026, at 5:30 PM in the large meeting room at Town Hall Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, to consider an application for a new annual entertainment license for outdoor amplified live and recorded music for Chatham Inn Partners, LLC, doing business as the Chatham Inn, 359 Main Street, Chatham. All interested parties are encouraged to participate in person or remotely via the link in the posted agenda.
Thank you, Clerk Potash. Now, process this evening, we're going to have Bill Riley, I believe, is that Dane right there?
Yes, Dane.
Okay, Dane
Yes.
speak. And then we do have a series of letters that I'm going to ask the clerk to read because this is a public hearing and we do read letters at public hearings here, okay? So, Bill, if you're the lead here, take it away. And then Dane, if you want to speak, and then we're going to go to letters and then select board comment as well.
All right, thank you very much. Excuse me. So the Chatham Inn would like to be able to provide live music entertainment on their patio one night a week, Thursdays, for 3 hours from 6 to 9. The music would be provided by an acoustic guitar, unamplified, and then a microphone for the singer, the performer. Since the music's being provided for the patio, we don't think the music will be very loud at all. I know that there's always concern that people will be disturbed, but as I say, it's one night a week, Thursday nights, for 3 hours. In addition, there's a request for recorded music. And this was, Dane is a recent arrival to the operation of the inn. And he informed me that the inn has been playing recorded music on the patio for about 10 years. They have 4 speakers, 2 that face from the inn out towards the street, and 2 at the outer corners of the patio, that face toward the inn. The music is just for people dining on the patio, and if having 4 speakers that are pointing into the listening group means that the volume is very low, which would explain why there've been no complaints to date. The previous owner of the inn had started doing this, and Dane's company, Noble House, just continued what they thought was a tradition. So when they learned that they needed an entertainment license to do it, they included that with their request for the live entertainment. So, want to add anything, Dane? We're good?
Thank you, Bill. So my name's Dane. I'm the new general manager of the Chatham Inn. I've been there for about 2 years now. I've seen the inn kind of transition from what it was before I started there. One of the biggest things for me is seeing it more approachable for the town to enjoy, to come in there and enjoy the good food and the good laughter and drinks. Because I think that inn had a stigma to it that it was, you could only enter there if you were part of like a guest there. And I want to get that stigma away. Because in reality, what keeps that business thriving is the town and the community. So having this live music piece, which right now would be ideal to have between 6 and 9, but I know that, you know, for the neighbors, for the neighborhood, if that's an inconvenience, I'm more than happy to maybe discuss a different time frame. But I think it's going to be able to bring that atmosphere up and also create more money for our servers if it's busier, so we can support our team.
Okay, thank you, Dane, thank you, Bill. I'll have Clerk Potash read the communications, the letters that we've received, the emails, and then I will actually turn it over to the public that was sitting here. I understand there's folks here that want to speak, that's great. And then we'll come back to the board. So Clerk Potash,
Yes,
please.
thank you, Mr. Chair. So there are 4 letters altogether. The first one is from Laura Beck. I am the owner of property at 327 Main Street, and I am concerned about this license application for outdoor amplified music at the Chatham Inn. Depending on the actual volume and time limitations, I'm concerned for both the quiet enjoyment of my own property and those of my neighbors, as well as the change in nature and ambiance of the old village. Unfortunately, I cannot attend the upcoming meeting, but I wanted to let the committee know of my concerns. Thank you for your consideration. Next, we have one of 2 letters from Patricia Ullman. The first one is very short. Please do not let the Chatham Inn play live music anytime, day or night, as it will destroy the peace of our abutting and surrounding neighborhood. We are so close together on the east side of the inn and can hear their cars and people come and go already. Please do not allow this. We try to keep our neighborhood residential and as quiet and beautiful as possible. Please don't allow this noise pollution. Also from Patricia Allman, received on 6/10. I am the owner of 331 Main Street, and I'm quite concerned about the request from the Chatham Inn to have live amplified music outside the building. We already have the outside bar at the inn that has many people outside during the summer months, and now this. We, the abutters, live in a historic residential area adjacent to an inn, and we enjoy sleeping with the windows open for the wonderful air and being able to enjoy our decks and outside areas, and no one wants to listen to that added noise. It will impact the nature and atmosphere of the old village, and especially those of us who live right next to the inn. As I cannot attend the meeting due to work obligations, I wanted to be sure the committee hears from me and my family about this. We've owned our home since 1985, and the noise, foot traffic, cars speeding up and down Main Street at night is very dangerous, and the density in the summer has only increased. Our property values could also be negatively impacted, as well as setting a dangerous precedent for our town going forward. I hope that this will not happen, and this will only, because this would only add noise impact to my property and my surrounding community and neighborhood. Let's keep Chatham's charm and respect for historic residential areas and not allow this encroachment on our home. Finally, we have a note from Denise Desmond. My name is Denise Desmond. I live directly across from the Eldridge Garage parking lot, diagonally across from the Chatham Inn. I'd like to comment on the inn's request for a new entertainment license for amplified outdoor live recorded music. I am opposed to this, and I do not feel it's appropriate for our residential east end of Main Street. There are many surrounding homes to the inn which are very close. This neighborhood has always been the quiet end, and predecessors of the current inn always maintained a low-key presence in fitting with our neighborhood. If the license is granted, I'm concerned with the noise which bounces all over down here, their parking issues and traffic. I'm so close to the inn's patio that I can hear whole conversations of their customers, and I just don't think amplified live or recorded music makes any sense at all for this part of Main Street, and it would be disruptive to the peace of our neighborhood. Again, that was from Denise Desmond, and that concludes our letters on that one.
Okay, Clerk Potash, I will now turn to the public for those folks that would like to make comment. I'm not going to know folks by name, so just please come up to the microphone and please identify yourself and where you live.
Hi, I'm Maria Anderson.
Okay.
And I live at 52 Chase Street, which is directly across the salt marsh from the Chatham Inn. In fact, if you look down their driveway across the salt marsh, which is a depression, you see the back of my house. I have a number of concerns. First of all, I am here for 6 of my closest neighbors, none of whom, except for us, received the certified letter notifying us of this meeting. My other neighbor immediately to our left is exactly the same distance away from the Chatham Inn. I assume there's a radius. I just want to let you know, none of them were aware of this meeting. I come not only on my behalf, but from Sue and Mark McConnell, 47 Chase Street, Kara Maggione and Jay Geisner, 62 Chase Street, Dan Gregory and Martha McCallum, 59 Chase Street, Carol Pecan, 14 Sunset, who has been in that house for decades, and David McAdam, 52 School Street, also a decades-long resident. My husband and I have been coming to Chatham, well, my family's been coming here since 1929, and we are now full-time residents of Chatham. I would like to point out that 2 of my neighbors on Chase Street are summer and shoulder season residents, and 2 others are summer residents, and none of our properties are rented. We live directly across from Chase Street, from the Chatham Inn. We can hear the band concert on Friday nights. Fortunately, only 6 individual nights during the summer, we can hear the venue at 197 Bridge Street, which is very loud and amplified music. I think that if we suffer through the Chatham winters and want to be able to use our outdoor space, besides the traffic on Main Street, which we hear, and yes, the conversations from the inn, which we hear, the last thing I want to be here, even one night a week, is music, amplified music. Because what's the first thing people do if they're having dinner and there's amplified music? They talk louder. I'm also very concerned about setting the precedent for amplified music. I know recently there were cases with the Squire and Apalaya where that was not allowed or it was significantly restricted, and because neighbors objected. And I really think you need to take into consideration not only the immediate neighbors on Main Street, but those of us across the old Cranberry Bog who hear everything. And I understand people want to have a good time, but we also have rental houses where occasionally there'll be bullhorns and bachelorette parties, even in the middle of the day with ear-splitting music. And I'm strongly opposed for any sort of amplified music. And I want to let you know that I also speak for my 6 closest neighbors, and again, none of whom received the notice of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. The gentleman next in line.
My name is James Anderson. I also live at 50 Chase Street. In the interest of time, simply ditto. I have the same opinion as my wife, in that we are opposed to the proposal for amplified live or recorded music from the inn. As she said, we do hear everything. We hear the cleaning up at night. We hear, as the letter writer said, we hear the traffic. We hear the parking. We hear the conversations. Appreciate that the request is a seemingly modest one for plans for only acoustic guitar, one night a week. Well, great, but what about next year? Well, that went well. Let's expand it. It simply opens the door to more. And as a letter writer said, it is a residential neighborhood, and we appreciate the quiet nature of it. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Kleinkoff, and I live at 384 Main Street, which is located right at the east end of Main Street towards Shore Road and School Street. The area is residential beyond the business area. Other than the Chatham Inn and the Eldridge Garage, which was generously restored by a donation from one of our neighbors to reflect and maintain the historic preservation of the Eldridge Garage history, our residential area is made up mostly of year-round residents, which I am, part-time summer residents, and then we have a cluster of summer rentals. Tonight I'm speaking on behalf of the Willow Bend condo where I live and my neighbors directly across the street from the inn and the parking garage. Regarding the Chatham Inn's application for an annual entertainment license for outdoor amplification music. In addition to the grave concerns we have regarding the noise level issues with music and party goers, we are also very concerned about parking and traffic issues. Let us remember that the Eldridge Garage provides overflow parking for the Chatham residents with town stickers and visitors to use our shops, enjoy our restaurants in the Lighthouse Beach area. The inn's attraction would markedly take away from these spaces and cause, I think, unduly amount of increase in traffic. Other impacts to consider would be calls to the police department to address abuse and to enforce noise level, causing a strain on their resources. Also calls to real estate offices from disgruntled renters, rental complaints, dropped rating reviews to property owners that rent would greatly hurt their rental income. Recent past town decisions in the past have thoughtfully declined the Chatham Inn petition to do an expansion. And prior to that, when the Eldridge Garage was being complete, the parking area was being completed, food trucks wanted to enter in, and that was voted down for the above concerns due to noise levels and parking spaces. The predecessor to the Chatham Inn, the Cranberry Inn, maintained a beautifully low-profile key to preserve the character of this historic area. I trust, and the people I speak for, that you will continue to do the right thing and you will vote against this outrageous application that will cause an abuse and ensure that our residents continue to have the right to a peaceful living environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Janine Rivet, my husband Warren Harrod and I live at 1 Isaac Hardy Lane, which is directly across from the Chatham Inn, and have the same concerns that were written in the letters by our neighbors, and in addition, all of the other comments here at the podium. And if it starts small, it can get big, and small isn't good to begin with. And so I also would suggest that we really think this through and think what would happen and the various consequences. And I might add, the Chatham Inn doesn't even know if they'll get no more business doing this. And so it's an unknown reason to do this. I might suggest that they think about a different branding approach and let us keep our quiet neighborhood.
Ma'am, could you please repeat your name? I didn't get it.
Janine Rivet,
Griffin?
Rivet.
Oh, okay, Rivet. Janine Rivet. Okay, thank you. Shauna Neely.
Hi, I just wanted to point out that the applicant did follow the notice to abutters requirements of 300 feet from the inn's property, and we do have 40 return receipts for notifications.
Okay, thank you, Shauna. Anybody online that would like to speak to this issue? It is a public hearing. Hearing and seeing no one, I will come back. Do we have some, I'm sorry, okay. KM, Kate McCormick, you're being recognized.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name's Kate McCormick. I, with my husband, own a house at 19 Willow Bend. It's a family home. We've bought a house over 14 years ago and have enjoyed many, many good times there. We have taken advantage of the proximity of the Chatham Inn to put up family members when we've had too many people there. We've eaten at the restaurant. And while we enjoy having them as part of downtown, I do oppose the licensing request for the same reasons that other people have talked about it, interrupting our peace and enjoyment of our home. I think the suggestion that this is needed in order for the inn to get more business or to help the servers, I think we can all appreciate that, but I think the real constraint on the inn is the size. And that patio is only so big, and if you've ever gone there, you can't get in to get a seat. There appears that they have, at least in the high season and the shoulder seasons, plenty of business. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Any other comments? All right, I'll return to the board here for questions of the applicants and/or comments on the application. I'll start with Mr. Metters.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this out to actually any abutter who is willing to answer this, because reading the packet, going into this, thinking, okay, there's two asks. One is the background amplified music, and one is the weekly live acoustic music. So looking at two first, once a week, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., 3-hour window, that seems kind of a reasonable ask. Then the applicant, the manager, was like, hey, I want to be a good neighbor. I want to have a conversation. So that I appreciate that tone that you want to work with the neighborhood. So we're off to a good start with this. And then Attorney Riley mentioned on the background of amplified music that this has happened for years. So the amplified music has existed. So I'm trying to get an understanding from the neighbors, if anyone would like to comment, do you hear this amplified music? If you do hear it, has it been disruptive? I know you hear noises, talking, cars, traffic, closing up at night, but specifically the amplified music that has been provided to the patio in past years, have you picked up on it, and what is your impression of it, I guess is my question.
Please. Michelle? Yes, Michelle, yep.
Actually, I'm sorry, we have to go to the podium.
Please,
I'm
you have
sorry.
to. Please, thank you.
To be very honest with you, I was surprised when he indicated that there was amplified music. And I live very close. I do not hear that amplification. So wherever they think they're amplifying it from,
Well, I know I'm not a sound specialist, but I know when you get certain kind of speaker systems that are pointed in certain directions, you kind of close an envelope in so the noise kind of stays restrained within a certain area so it doesn't, leak out. So I'm just frankly trying to verify if what we're concerned about being disruptive has been occurring for a while, and has it not been disruptive, and just so I can get a clear picture of, what we're
I'm
trying.
speaking for myself.
Yes.
No, I appreciate that.
From what I understand, if that's what they're considering amplification, why are you even bothering being here tonight?
Because they're asking for a particular license, and actually they're frankly they're being upfront.
But but what degree of the amplification are we talking about? I'm just saying, I am surprised that was even brought up.
Well, I look at it as if we actually would approve a license for outside amplified music, and becomes a nuisance area, then we have some teeth to work with and control it.
I guess my comment would be you give an inch and then it gets out of control. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
just looking for clarification myself,
Yeah.
so thank you.
I would like that clarification as well.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, I think Mr. Nacastro would like to recognize you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Corey's correct to separate these two parts of the application. And with respect to the amplified music, apparently it runs from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I guess it's been undertaken for several years without a license. But it is curious to know whether it has been a problem. If it's not a problem, then perhaps we can sanction it or with certain limitations or whatever. But I don't know how other neighbors feel about that. The other issue, 6 to 9, that's a new that's innovation that's being proposed. And, we certainly hear from a number of the neighbors that they don't like that. So that's something I'm certainly going to take into consideration. Those are my comments at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Anybody else on the board? Randy?
Yes, thank you. So I'm just going to take these one at a time. I would not be inclined to allow for amplified music to be playing from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think that's, above and beyond what people should expect in a neighborhood. Who wants to listen to music all day long and evening? I mean, you probably could just go out of your mind with that. So I would not support that. And I do have some flexibility with them to have once a week I'm not good at this word, acoustic performance on Thursdays. And I would be willing to entertain the idea of 6 to 8, perhaps. I don't think that's unreasonable. And I think it also supports the arts, to have some live musicians come just once a week and provide a service. I think that's good for the economy. I think it's good for the restaurant, which is also good for the economy. So unless there's a lot of pushback on that, I would just open that up for a discussion.
Okay, Randy. Stuart Smith?
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
So could we go back to the first public speaker? Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Marie. You mentioned something about hearing, it's somewhat related to this, trying to ascertain what's going on, but on Bridge Street, music from?
Yes, there's a wedding venue at the Mac Estate at 197 Bridge Street.
Oh, okay.
And but they are limited to 6 weddings a year.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that we already have a lot of noise.
Right, right.
And can I just talk about the everyday music? So that is ambient music. That's background music.
Right.
When you walk down the street, if you're listening closely, you can hear it. That's very different than a singer with a microphone. And that's the issue with the amplified music that they're asking for. Acoustic guitar, great. Singer with a microphone. What kind of music? Male, female, how loud, right? Microphones have variable volumes. And so, ambient music playing as just kind of the mood that you kind of hear as you walk by is, I guess it's technically amplified because it's coming through speakers, but the issue is an actual performer or recorded music, which to me leads to a DJ.
Okay. So, Stuart?
Yeah, sure. I have a couple other
Yeah, go ahead.
thoughts.
Yep, go ahead.
Somebody might, maybe Jill, refresh my memory on the noise bylaw. Does it apply to these establishments? It's 150 feet, I think, but it applies here. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it does. Shauna, if you want to weigh in on that one.
It is 150 feet, Stuart.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's 150 feet from a building, but any establishment licensed under Chapter 138, which are liquor licenses, are exempt.
Okay. So, I mean, my thinking is that I generally support these types of initiatives because I think, businesses are vital here in town. I'm looking at this one slightly differently. It sits on the edge of a residential neighborhood. We already do have a lot of noise going on. So I think that I'm concerned about the 8 to 10, as I think that that's a long day to listen to amplified music. And, I'm not sure I'm even crazy about the amplified music once a week.
Can I
Did
just
you-
say, can I
One
just say
second,
one?
one second. Did you consider non-amplified music outside on Thursday?
Well, we're certainly willing to, the idea of an acoustic guitar, and perhaps the singer would not have a microphone.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that that's something, that you may want to consider. And I don't know if that would require a new application or revised or how that would
Modify
work.
this.
I don't think so.
We could do it by
Modify.
motion, but I have, Stuart, you
For
good?
now, I'm good, thank you.
I really think it's important to bifurcate the two requests. The request for the amplified music, ambient music on the patio that's already been occurring for 10 years, it doesn't bother me. And frankly, I hear that it doesn't bother the neighborhood.
Well, that's what I wanted to point, that's what I wanted to point out.
And you guys you're going to get permission, and I get that, and so I'm willing to grant that permission. If it doesn't bother the neighborhood, I don't care if it's from 8 in the morning, or 10 in the morning, but I'm good with it. And I think as Corey noted, I think you've positioned the speaker so that it doesn't filter out into the neighborhood and bother folks.
Right, and
So I would like, if I could, I would like to bifurcate the issue, because I think they're two very separate issues here, as Dean noted as well.
As a follow-up to that, Jeff, I think.
Please, go
I think
ahead.
you're right, they should be, I think they should be
it's-
separated.
Yep.
But on number one, background amplified, we would like to offer low-level, I mean, that says,
I know.
it doesn't say to me that that's been happening for 10 years. It says to me that this is something newer. So I don't know, I don't go there, so I
No,
don't know.
it's the same system, same musical system. And I would like to point out that the last speaker indicated that when she's walking by, if you listen, you can hear it.
Right.
But if you're just walking by, you can't even hear it.
Okay.
Ms. Potash,
Yeah, so-
Stuart, you done? You good?
I am, thank you.
Ms. Potash?
So I just want to clarify, background amplified, is that different from ambient? Because to me, ambient is just very, low, like the radio is on.
Yeah.
But amplified, so this says amplified, and I don't support that.
Yeah, so it's definitely just background music to support the atmosphere. And I know I had put on there from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., but in reality, I just did that as a broad so we could open the discussion. But our breakfast service runs from 8 to 10, so that's typically where we would have ambient music playing. And if needed, we can stop it in the middle of the afternoon so there's a break, and then start up for our dinner service. The bar opens at 4 p.m.
So is ambient and amplified the same thing?
I, depending on how you verify those words, yes, it's background music. It's played through.
I don't think it is. Amplified means you have an amplifier on.
Amplifier.
No,
No?
but it is played through electric speakers.
Yeah.
But it's, as the previous speaker said, you can't hear it unless you're actually walking by and paying attention to it. So I really think the neighbors have indicated that ambience music has not been a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Nacastro, you have your hand up.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
I think on issue number one, we're approaching a solution here.
Me too.
If we could perhaps compromise by permitting, and when we say this goes back 10 years, I think the previous ownership, pushed the envelope. And I don't recall they ever came to the town for permission on this, so I applaud the applicant for doing this on this issue. But perhaps we could permit ambient music at the same sound levels that are currently in place from 8 a.m. through, I think the gentleman said 10 a.m., and from 4 p.m. through, I don't know if we go as far out as 10, but break it up that way, and then we have it on the books, and if there's a violation, it can be enforced. I don't know if that's agreeable to the applicant, but that's what I would propose.
Mr. Riley, and then I am going to recognize Shauna Neely. I believe Shauna has a point as well. Mr.
Well,
Riley.
basically what Dana suggested is instead of a continuous, we would only play it during food service times. So breakfast, a little bit of lunch, and then in the dinner service.
8 to 10, 12 to 2, 4 to 9?
Yes.
Okay, 8 to 10, 12 to 2, 4 to 9. The background, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Can we do 4 to 10? Because that's typically when we don't really allow, we don't like guests out on the patio past 10. We usually, in previous years, we've actually shut it down, turned off the fire pits and everything to get people inside, just for sound reasons.
Okay, Dane. Stuart?
Sure. I'm just wondering, maybe Shauna could help, but so the bylaw won't apply because they're exempt because of the statute. So how does this get policed from a noise perspective?
So first, let me clarify that the trigger to require an entertainment license is when you advertise that you are having and offering an entertainment. So ambient music in the background isn't something that requires an entertainment license. Just for an example, the Wild Goose on their patio, they have speakers outside. If you're walking by, like it's been mentioned, you can hear it, especially in, quieter times of the year. But when there's people out there, it's really difficult to hear that ambient music in the background because people are talking and eating and enjoying their meals. So it's really the advertising that you have an entertainment, a singer, a speaker, a DJ, that you're offering to the public is what triggers an entertainment license.
Okay.
So in this case, it would be the 1 day a week, 6 to 9, 6 to 10, or whatever. The other issue is noise complaints are still made to the police department, which tracks them. We do inquire of the police department when licenses come up for renewal if there have been any complaints. If there have been, we then share that information with the board. But they're not enforcing the noise complaint bylaw. They're just taking complaints, addressing them with management if that's an issue. They've done that several times with the Squire over the years.
Right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Randy, did you have something, Randy?
There's a woman there.
Michelle? Okay, and then we'll move on here. I think we've come to some
I think
consensus.
we're at a really tricky situation here, because I would like to understand what they mean by ambient music.
Okay.
And why are they even, and the word amplification in this license. So, and also, nobody's talking about the traffic and the parking issues. So I'm just.
One at a
saying-
time, Michelle, one at a time.
I know, but I just want to make sure we're not missing anything.
Doing our best. Okay.
But the amplification and the ambient is really a trick.
Okay.
We're really on a murky ground here, so I have grave concerns.
Not to prolong, but it's my understanding that the ambient background music has been there all along. Is that a misunderstanding on our part or an understanding on our part?
It's been there all along.
Okay, but for
And
years,
really, the
right?
reason why they didn't apply for it is because you don't have to apply for it.
Okay, so in fact, we're wasting our time with the first part of this hearing.
Right.
Okay, so we're wasting our time. We're not going to even opine on the ambient background music because it's a waste of our time. It's not under our purview for.
And so we would offer just an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And an unamplified singer accompanying himself on an acoustic guitar.
One night a week?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, 6 to 9 is what I had proposed.
All right. Thoughts on that, folks? I'm back to the board. Mr. Metters.
Scaling back down the amplification component, I appreciate that. I think 6 to 9 actually, I think having a 3-hour window adds some benefit because you allow kind of kind of almost two sections of service. If you condense it to only 2 hours, you're going to, everyone trying to park at the same time, more foot traffic, more vehicle traffic, but everyone's trying to cluster into that, where if you broaden the 3 hours, you're going to have a little more flow. Groups going to come in, groups going to leave. It's an hour. I think there's some benefit, personally.
Mr. Metters. Mr. Smith?
So, number one, background amplified music, that's gone.
Gone.
Because apparently, maybe it's not amplified like we thought it was. It's gone. It'll
Gone.
be basically what has been taking place. Hopefully, nobody has noticed. And now we're on to number two, which is Thursdays, 6 to 9, which is amplified.
Their proposal, Stuart, is to have acoustic guitar and a singer with no amplification.
Now they're taking, yeah, okay, they're taking out the.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to, because I do want to hear from what the public's thinking, the neighbors' thinking is on those modifications.
Michelle, okay, and then, oh, no, sir, I have to recognize you. I haven't recognized you yet.
Hello, Board. John Charles, 28 Mill Pond Road, 50 years. I was involved last year with the board when Playa and the Squire applied for amplified music. And we all came up with a scenario that there's no amplification.
Yeah.
And Playa was limited to 2 days a week. And I live right near there, and I have not heard anything for a year. The unamplification is key, I think, to this whole process. The ambient music, that's a good question. I never looked at the difference between ambient and amplification, but when we got to the point where the board decided, that worked. And we also put in last year that it should be under review a year later or 2 years later or something like that. So I would present that as a possibility for everybody, so.
Which is actually being suggested at this point in this hearing.
Yes, I know, it just,
Yeah.
he just suggested no amplification, so.
I think we would have gotten there, to be honest with you.
Well,
But thank you very, very much.
Just here to help, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle, one more time. Typically, we'll recognize person once, so I've gone way over my
I just want
quota
to
here.
understand acoustic guitar. Is an acoustic guitar
It
amplified?
is not.
Okay. All right, and can I also propose for the residents that this would be reviewed?
It will be reviewed. Yes, yep.
How,
And the singer, excuse me.
They haven't hired me yet, Stuart.
The singer is not into a microphone, is my understanding.
Correct.
He's just,
okay. And nobody's concerned about parking issues or the overflow of traffic and the noise that's going to create and the congestion?
It would be one heck of a good acoustic guitar player and singer
I'm
to
just
attract a
saying.
large
I'm just
gathering
saying.
every Thursday night. Anyway.
the issue of parking
Parking
is
is
probably coming up on a future agenda here.
The issue of parking?
Yeah,
It's been on the agenda many times.
it's one of my agenda
So
items.
normally I don't speak up, but so will we have a timeline where we readdress this so it's not being taken advantage of, it doesn't become an issue?
We'll see how we craft the motion, Michelle, but it will
Okay,
be
all right.
reviewed. Okay. And to that end, okay, we can like to move on here. I think we've come to some kind of consensus, so I'd love to hear a motion from someone here. Otherwise, I'll propose one.
You want to do it? Well, I was going to say that I move to allow weekly acoustic music that's not amplified from 6 to 9 on Thursday nights. Fair?
I'll second that.
And I think.
With a
With a
review.
review, also with a review, an annual review of how it goes. And depending, obviously, people can complain. If there's complaints, then we'll deal with them. Okay? With an annual review. Well set. We get a second?
I'll second the review.
Thank you. I'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well. Mr. Deacon says aye. And Dean, sorry.
I just wanted to ask, does the motion include the singer without a microphone? It just says acoustic music.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Aye.
Yep, thank you. Okay.
Thank
So-
you very much.
Dean, did you say aye?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Here we go. We have two more public hearings this evening. We have two more public hearings ahead of us this evening, and I will, this next one is regarding a I'm going to wait till the room clears just a little bit. The next public hearing considers an application for a new seasonal all-alcoholic beverages license for This Is My Jam LLC, doing business as Hey Joe and Jam. And I will turn to the clerk for the reading of the public notice.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Notice is hereby given that the Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026, at 5:30 PM in the large meeting room at the office located at the Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, Chatham, and remotely via Microsoft Teams platform to consider an application for a new seasonal all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license for This Is My Jam LLC, doing business as Hey Joe and Jam. Andrea Tui, manager for the business located at 16 Sequoiasett Road in Chatham. The public is welcome to attend the meeting in person or participate via the link in the posted agenda.
Nobody, huh? So it's funny, we're having a public hearing, and I don't see Dre anywhere online. The applicant is not here, so we need to postpone the hearing.
Continue it, correct?
Continue.
Should we just continue it for? No.
June 30th, I
June
meant?
30th.
June 30th,
That's what I
yeah.
meant. That's the next meeting.
Yeah, I move that we continue the public hearing to June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well. We have a third public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, Dean. Jeez, you know, I'm having a tough time. Dean says, you say aye as well, Dean?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Okay.
Okay, we have a third public hearing this evening to consider an application for a new annual entertainment license for outdoor live acoustic music for Mustard Seed LLC, doing business as Kodo Mexican Chicken, 859 Main Street, Chatham. I'll have the clerk please read the public notice.
Sure. Notice hereby given that the Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026, at 5:30 PM in the large meeting room at Town Hall Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, to consider an application for a new annual entertainment license for outdoor live acoustic music for Mustard Seed LLC, doing business as Kodo Mexican Kitchen, 859 Main Street, Chatham. All interested parties are encouraged to participate in person or remotely via the link posted on the agenda.
Is there a representative of Mustard Seed LLC doing business as Kodo here this evening? There is not. Okay. So I just want to emphasize, we will have to continue this hearing as well, having it been read to our minutes, till June 30th, and make sure someone's here. I'll emphasize the note in here that this is non-amplified on the patio. Okay, that has to be continued.
Do you want a formal motion?
Please.
I move that we continue it till June 30th.
And second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Dyken says aye. Thank you. Thanks, folks. Okay, onward and upward. We do not have a consent agenda this evening, and we have an opportunity for folks to comment on the business agenda. We allow comment on every one of these items that's forthcoming, including the award of a general obligation loan, the Orleans Adult Supportive Day Care Memorandum of Agreement with the Town of Orleans, a request for consideration of perhaps an historic preservation restriction by the Historical Commission, an update on our 90 Bridge Street, a budget update, our project on 90 Bridge Street for shellfish propagation equipment and saltwater equipment, and a learning session, if you will, an education session on our aquifer, our Monomoy Lens groundwater. We're calling it a briefing. I can't wait for that, to be honest with you. And then a consideration of a committee appointments, and we also will have an executive session this evening with no return to open session. So is there anybody at present that is not going to be here during the discussions forthcoming that would like to speak to these issues now? I hear and see no one. Okay, we'll go on to our business agenda. The first item for our consideration this evening is the award of a general obligation loan in the amount of $8,780,000. Our Director of Finance, Carrie Mazerol, is here to take us through that issue. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, members of the board. Carrie Mazerol, Director of Finance. I am here tonight to go over the general obligation bond for to cover the costs of expenses that we have incurred. The town of Chatham, as you know, received the AAA bond rating from Standard & Poor's on May 27th. AAA is the highest bond rating available to municipalities, and reflects the town's strong financial management, healthy reserves, and long-term planning. Fidelity Capital Markets submitted the lowest true interest cost at 3.406%. The bid included a premium of approximately $766,000, reducing the amount that needs to be financed from $9.4 million to $8.78 million. We received 7 bids for the bond issue. These funds will support the ongoing projects for the waterfront bond and wastewater infrastructure projects that we have going on in town. Do you have any questions? That's
Any questions from the board for Carrie? Corey? Anybody? I think, just a comment, I think it's great to get 7 bids. I've been through this process a number of times in the not-for-profit world, and that's good. That shows a lot of interest. I think that true all-interest cost is excellent, 3.41%, so.
Yeah.
3.406 in Fidelity.
It's
Fidelity
down a
has
little
owned
bit.
our bonds, and they include them in their their bond mutual funds, and they love them, so.
Yep. The interest rate is down. I've seen it go down the past couple of years, so this is the lowest I've seen it.
Well, I think the timing is probably pretty darn good. There is a suggested draft motion in our package, and I would entertain someone reading that motion.
All right.
Thanks.
Financial review, where did we go? I move that we award the $8,780,000 general obligation municipal purpose loan for 2026 bonds dated June 25th, 2026, parentheses, the bonds, to Fidelity Capital Markets in accordance with the terms set forth in the attached bid and notice of sale related to the bonds and as detailed in the attached, quote, vote of the select board, unquote.
I'll second that.
Okay, comments? I hear none. Mr. Smith, I'll run the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nick Castro?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well. Carrie, good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on our business agenda is to consider the Orleans Adult Supportive Day Care Memorandum of Agreement with the Town of Orleans. This is an intermunicipal agreement with Orleans that has supported our adult day care program housed in Orleans, known as the Rock Harbor Respite Program. And I will turn it over to Jill Goldsmith and Leah if she's online.
All right, sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have Leah, our Director of Community Services, with us. This is a one-year memorandum of agreement for those participants currently participating with or at the Town of Orleans. We currently have 2 people who are participating, and Orleans is not accepting any new clients. We do have our Adult Day program, which will continue with the recent move as of this week over to the community center. But I'm happy to turf it over to Leah if you have anything else to add. Thank you.
Yeah, Leah, the only question one might have is we still have 2 participants, and with our own offering, why are the participants still over there?
It's a great question. With the day program, the two participants who are remaining have been long-term participants in the Orleans Day program. With dementia, a change in environment, a change in routine can be extremely detrimental to the person. It's very disruptive to both the participant and the caregiver. So since we've opened our program, we have honored our commitment to let them stay until they progress to such time where they're no longer appropriate for a day program. So we started off with approximately 17. Last year, we were down to 4, and this year we're down to 2. As the town manager noted, Orleans will not accept any more Chatham residents. So any new people we have are coming to us. We currently have 8 people in our day program.
Okay, thank you, Leah. That's a great explanation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is an annual renewal?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's important to note that, that if either party wants to cancel it, we can with, I believe it says in the contract, 30 days notice.
Okay, and I noticed you struck the word care from daycare, and I referred to it as daycare. It's really a day program. I get it.
Yes, thank you for noticing
Yeah,
that.
Okay.
It's okay, it's,
This is fairly perfunctory, you guys. Any questions for Leah? Any comments or suggestions? Okay. Entertain a motion. Mr. Metters.
I'm just reading one quick little memo. Sorry, I'm just reading one quick little memo, because the Orleans Select Board is looking at this tomorrow evening, and I don't see them having it, we don't think there's gonna be any issues. This seems very straightforward. Leah?
no, I don't think they'll have any issues, and they signed off on my proposed changes.
All right, then I move that the Select Board approve and sign the memorandum of agreement between the town of Chatham and the town of Orleans for the Orleans COA Adult Supportive Day Program.
Second that.
Thank you very much, and we'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And Mr. Dyken says aye as well. Leah, thank you. Jill, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, Leah. Okay, moving on. Our next item on the agenda, our business agenda, is the consideration of that has been requested by the Historical Commission for our consideration of whether we'd be interested in a property that might be have preservation restrictions placed upon it, whether we're open to the notion or not, I think is the topic of conversation this evening. Katie Donovan is at the podium, and then I see Mr. Frank Messina approaching as well. So Katie, off to you, and let's see what we think.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, Katie Donovan, Assistant Town Manager and Director of Community Development, and joined by, as you mentioned, by Frank Messina, Chair of the Historical Commission. And the Historical Commission had, or Mr. Messina, on behalf of the Historical Commission, had written a letter to the board to determine whether or not the town is still willing to be holders of preservation restrictions. The town currently holds 3 preservation restrictions for properties on Water Street that are owned by the YWCA of Philadelphia, otherwise known as the Avis Chase Cottages. And those preservation restrictions were accepted by the board in 2012. As the chair of the Historical Commission mentioned in his letter, there is a potential property owner that may be interested in putting a preservation restriction on their property. And that process needs to be vetted through with Mass Historical Commission, and has to follow a certain process, but that onus is all on the property owner. What would be the town's responsibility as being the holder of the restriction? Only governmental agencies, trusts, and other historic preservation nonprofits can be legally holders of preservation restrictions. So the question before you tonight is this something that the town is willing to entertain? And if so, we could work with the property owner that's interested or future property owners, and then bring something more concrete in form of a restriction back to the board. And I'll turn it over to Frank for any other.
Mr. Messina, please.
Hi. People often ask me, what is this? Do you guys know what this is? But the public doesn't always know what this is. As much money as we've spent on this facility, if you're sitting in that audience and you're past 39, okay, it's very difficult to hear, okay? And somehow, just a quick aside, we should make it more noticeable, at least somehow let people know that there's a way to hear what's going on. Between the fact that everybody doesn't talk into the microphone and everybody doesn't lean back, and the sound coming from the various computers, it's difficult to hear. So anyway, just a quick aside. Thank you very much. Very simply, we had a request, the Historical Commission had a request from Protect Our Past, Ellen Briggs, and that group who's doing a really great job, about someone in town who was interested in creating a preservation restriction. It's an elderly woman who is a beautiful piece of property and a beautiful home, and she wants to sell it and as she passes on, but she wanted the property protected. The ultimate way to protect the property, you know, we have National Register District, we have the Historic District, and all of these are nice, but it doesn't really provide 100% protection in perpetuity to maintain a house. I think as was indicated by Ms. Donovan, we do have one home in Chatham, or one property, which I'm sure you're aware of, the YWCA. It was very controversial. We had the Boston YWCA competing with the Philadelphia YWCA, and there was an agreement. And the Historical Commission, my former chair and good friend Don Aikman, was heavily involved in trying to come up with that. And we did. And the town was very cooperative at the time because it was in the heart of the old village and we wanted to see it preserved, okay? So we really haven't had a request at all in the past, or recently, at any times. This has got to be 10 years ago when that.
2012. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, time flies. So we do have this request, and you know, as you all know, the pressures on development in town are significant, and you know, and we're getting a lot of requests from people. What can I do to save my house after I move on? And so, what we would like to do, the Historical Commission, and working with Protect Our Past, is to encourage people to do this. Okay, and so before the Historical Commission raised our hand and say, yeah, we're going to encourage people to do it, because the town of Chatham is involved in the sense that it's a commitment from the people of Chatham, the town of Chatham, and the Historical Commission to be the people who hold the restriction. In this case, for instance, the YWCA, the town of Chatham agreed and allowed the Historical Commission to hold the restriction. What does that mean? That, you know, 20 years from now, if someone from the YWCA decide that the property changes hand and somehow the new people want to make a significant change, okay, whoopsie, you know, you can't do that. And the changes that you could make to a property under a preservation restriction is defined. You can say you can't paint, you know, you can set it. So it's up to the owner to set the requirements of the preservation restriction. And this is not done in a vacuum. It's not just the Historical Commission say, this is an historically significant house, we're going to let you do this. Not that we let them do it. Mass Historic is involved. They will determine whether this truly is a historically significant home and it's worthy of protection under the Mass Historical Commission guidelines. So there's some back and forth. Just a quick note, and I'm sure that Katie is aware, the majority, or 100% of the cost of this, the legal cost, is borne by the applicant, not by the town. What's the town involvement? Obviously, when there is a preservation restriction and it's going to be, you know, accepted, the town, you're going to have to ask your attorney to review the restriction and to make sure, you know, we're not agreeing to something that we can't do. And then the issue of enforcement, that potentially does have a cost involved. For instance, if someone at the YWCA decides they want to change something, it comes to the town for a building permit. Hopefully the town, through their process, which they always do, they will pull the file on a particular town and say, wait a second, this property has a preservation restriction. The Historical Commission has to be notified. We would look at it, we would evaluate it, and we'd say, yes, what you requested is in accordance with the preservation restriction, or no, it's not. Now, there's potentially cost involved, or could be cost. It is my understanding, and we have to work out the details, that there will be money set aside to cover those potentially enforcement procedures in the future. So those are some of the details we have to work out with town attorney. But it is a commitment, so before we even proceed at all, we wanted to get, you know, I went to Katie went to the attorney, and he basically, if I understand the writing in Ms. Donovan's note, he said, yeah, we can do this, but, you know, we need to look into it. And that's kind of what we're doing. You know, what the Historical Commission is doing. We want to begin the process, at least get your understanding, and allow us to proceed. I would just kind of make one comment. The one with the YWCA was complicated because there were multiple parties legal. It doesn't have to be that complicated, okay? And I think Mass Historic is attempting to encourage a more streamlined version of it, because more and more people are looking to do this. And that's something which we're going to be looking into, working with Mass Historic to find a more streamlined version. It doesn't have to be as complicated as that document you saw on the YWCA, and that's kind of where we're going. I think that's it.
Okay, well, that's helpful, very helpful. Now, it's really owner-driven, and the owner is trying to preserve his or her property in perpetuity in basically the same structure, look, feel, architectural.
Whatever she decides.
You
You can't paint it chartreuse.
Yeah.
You know, calico cat. You can't do that. There's things that you cannot do. And it's up to the owner to determine the requirements of the restriction.
Right.
It's similar to a conservation restriction, which also can have various conditions.
Right.
You can trim certain kinds of shrubs, you can take down certain trees, but there are certain things you can't do on a conservation restriction. It's just the same thing. It allows, and I guess fortunately Chatham, I don't know what percentage, but we've got a high percentage of properties in Chatham which are preserved, but there are preservation restrictions.
And it's written right into the deed.
Say again?
Becomes part of the deed.
It would be
Yes.
Part of the-
Oh, yeah. That's back where the attorney is involved and the town is involved, where the applicant has to file it and, to a deed restriction. Could you pick that up for me?
I'm going to recognize Mr. Nacastro, who has his hand raised online. Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke with Frank yesterday as liaison to the Historical Commission. They're not looking for any vote tonight. They really just wanted to get a sense from this board as to whether we would be receptive to this concept going forward. And I think we should I give that message. The history here is with the properties on Water Street that have been mentioned. We've had no issues with them, with that restriction previously. And it's comparable, as Frank said, to the Conservation Commission being put in the place of the holder of conservation restrictions and the enforcer of those on various properties. So it makes sense to me to see the Historical Commission put in a similar role with respect to an historic preservation restriction. So I think I would be very supportive of this going forward. Thank you.
All right, Dean, thank you. Back to the board here. Mr. Metters.
Just for clarification on the restriction, is it perpetuity? Does it expire in 30 years and you have to renew it? I mean, what are the mechanics?
In perpetuity. This is not a deed restriction that expires in 30 years. This is forever.
What happens if both parties change their mind?
Assuming one party's gone.
Well, it's a good question.
Yeah, but you're right.
That's a good question, and that would be a question relative to the applicant on how he or she constructs the restriction. I'm sure they could say never, or they can say hardly ever, whatever they want to do. But if they say never, it's never, legally.
Kitty?
If I could, so in preparation for the meeting, I pulled the frequently asked questions from Mass Historic Commission, and it says, can a preservation restriction be terminated, and if so, how? The grantee of a preservation restriction under Chapter 184 may release it in whole or in part for such consideration, if any, as the holder may determine, but only after a public hearing and with the approval of the Mass Historical Commission, that the determination that such release is in the public interest and meets all of the requirements of Chapter 184.
Like if the house burns down or something like that.
Right. There's, so there is a process for it, but it's not typical. Typically, historic preservation restrictions are held in perpetuity.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Potast, did you have a
So
comment?
I'm enthusiastic about it. I think it's the perfect way to do it, because this way, if somebody inherits the house and then they decide, oh, I just want to do, a tear down, the town will realize that that is not a thing. That is not an option for them, because it'll be in the records here. And, zoning will see it, and historic will see it. So this is a perfect avenue, and I enthusiastically support it.
Mr. Smith?
Sure, thank you, Jeff. We don't, I suppose it's too difficult to predict what those legal costs would be, because we don't know what the legal challenges would be, so that's probably difficult. But, so if we hold the restriction, we're going to be, this is more of a question, obligated to defend that restriction, right?
Excuse me, Dean, in terms of legal costs, it's my understanding, Ms. Briggs is in the audience, and we've done some research independent before we came here, that that's a subject of the preparation it's part of the issue with the applicant, who have to put money aside, okay, to incur those costs, the legal costs. Ms. Briggs, can
Yeah, would you like to
the
speak,
chair,
Ellen?
so to speak, I love that expression, ask the question.
I will allow Ellen Briggs to speak.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Ellen.
Good evening, Ellen Briggs, Protect Our Past. This all began because I have people coming to me saying, none of my kids can take my house, and I don't want it to ever be destroyed. What do I do? So we began the process of digging into this. I called Frank. We've talked to Historic New England. We've talked to multiple people. I have a preservation lawyer I communicate with, and so we have some guidance on this. One of the key issues is how much do you put aside for legal? And that's something that Frank has just described that we need to work through. It may be more for one house than another house. What I think it's important to really digest is that the agreement is made with the homeowner. There is a preservation conservator or would come and look at the house, evaluate it for them, and then they decide what parts of that house are truly historic and need to be maintained. The recommendation from a preservation attorney is to make sure that to have it to be the exterior only. Now, Historic New England does do interior, you can do some, and maybe a homeowner will want their fireplace maintained because it's historic. This is all agreed upon and written together with the homeowner. There isn't this one set of guidelines that everybody has to follow. So it's a very personally decided upon agreement with the homeowner. But the objective is to prevent it from ever being destroyed. Now, if it gets burned down, that's a whole nother thing. But hopefully that alleviates some of your concern. It's a very personalized project with the homeowner who requests it. We are, as I said, facilitators, and we're working with the people who would make all this happen.
So, well, I certainly support the review process, so thank you for the answer.
Okay.
Mr. Nacastro has his hand up.
Yeah, I think Stuart's question went as well to enforcement and the cost of that. So as I understand it, the cost of developing the restriction is largely going to, the legal cost is largely going to be on the homeowner, the property owner.
Yes.
They're going to work with an attorney. They'll present a document to the town that may require some back and forth. We would have to have town council look at that. I suppose we could set up a special fund for that, but it may be within the purview of responsibility of town council, depending upon our arrangements for services with town council. When it goes to litigation, or the threat of litigation, which would be involved if there's an enforcement issue, then the town council would step in, and under our present town council arrangements, town council would be paid not as part of a retainer, which covers review services, but as part of, it would be paid on an hourly basis. I think Jill can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's our understanding. So it's kind of bifurcated. I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
And it's up to when we put this together for that money to be set aside by the owner to cover those costs, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, there's some details to be worked out.
Yeah,
I just wanted to start the process.
That will vary per house.
Yes.
You may have a large property, you may have
Right.
a little tiny one. So it's very subject to the individual situation.
So the request this evening, though, is, hey, Select Board, are you guys interested in considering, do you want us, are you okay with this, so we're going to do further work?
We're going to do some further work, and I work with Ms. Donovan to work out the details and provide the adequate, information before we go further, before we sign in any dotted line.
And I think what you heard here this evening is that we're all in favor of so doing. I mean, I didn't hear anybody voice any major concern about you going forward. I think we have some absolutely gorgeous older homes that should be preserved in perpetuity. And I'm really pleased to hear that there are some owners so considering, to be honest.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Ellen, thanks for all your advocacy, and Frank, to you as well.
Speaking of preservation, if you go upstairs in the annex, there are 11 photographs of the 11 homes which we received preservation awards this weekend on Sunday. I would like to thank Ms. Donovan and her staff for all the work they did. It was extremely well received, and we're going to be sending out some more stuff, but it's amazing how this has been well received by the developers and the architects. Who 15, 20 years ago, it was like the Hatfields and McCoys, but we actually all were in the same room talking to each other. So it's a very positive effort.
It's a banner year for that reason.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Very encouraging for us, indeed.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a reconsideration of a budget update on our 90 Bridge Street project. We have a bid report for that project, looking at shellfish equipment and seawater systems, et cetera. And to that end, I believe we have Mr. Greg Berman here, our Director of Natural Resources. I see Jason Holm, our Harbor Master, and I see Renee Gagne, our Shellfish Warden. Anyway, off to you, Greg.
Thank you. And as you can tell by the crew, this is a complicated project. Wanted to get as many familiar faces to be able to answer questions for you. So just wanted to very briefly go over the topics we're going to cover. First, we'll have the Harbor Master discuss progress to date, what's been going on, what's open right now, what we expect. Then I'll go through the overall budget. Your Shellfish Constable will go through the seawater system budget and talk about the plans moving forward. And then, this could be considered somewhat of a teaser for the future agenda item of waterfront projects, including Barn Hill, which is planned for July. Jason, if you would.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Select Board.
Good evening, Jason.
How are you? I missed last meeting, so please forgive me. I was down in Tennessee and come about that close to not coming back. So, but I knew we were going to be up in front of you guys again, so I couldn't resist. So appreciate your patience as we go through this. Just going to kind of cover where we're at. So phase one, the bulkhead and dredging was complete. We moved into phase two, which was the piers, the ramps, the floats, the relocation of the boathouse. And that is in the completion phase right now. That was started last May in 2025. We're substantially complete, but we do have some handrail deficiencies along the ramps. That's a concern. The handrails or full ramps are to be replaced by the manufacturer. The timber pier was extended with the new fender piles, ramp, and concrete float. The concrete pile-supported pier was constructed and 2 ramps were installed, with the northeast ramp being ADA accessible, and the concrete floats sit at the bottom of the ramps, and timber floats connect to the concrete floats. So the timber floats have the flupsy floats attached to them to further grow out the shellfish prior to putting shellfish into the natural environment. The timber pier extension float was installed with the regulated 25-foot offset from the property line. And I know that was kind of a discussion last time that was brought up. So in looking back, I know there was some discussion about it being in a different location originally, and that's true. We did find that between the 30% complete plans and the 60% complete plans is when that change happened and moved it to the 25 feet, which also coincides, which would have been the permitting period for that. The references for that is in 310 CMR 9.36 and its paragraphs 2 and 3. And I'll read you those parts that are applicable here. And please stop me at any time if you have any questions.
Jason, you're talking about the float that's to the western edge of this picture.
Yes, Mr. Chair, right on the other side of the red trucks there.
Thank you.
So 310 CMR 936, paragraph 2 states that in the case of a proposed structure which extends perpendicular to the shore, the department shall require its placement at least 25 feet away from such abutting property lines where feasible. So this change likely happened as a result of being triggered during the permitting process. And it further explains in the next paragraph, paragraph 3, that the project shall not significantly disrupt any water-dependent use in operation as of the date of the license application, which, as we know, to the west of that is an active marina. So to the best of our digging, this is whenever that change came place and what the likely reasoning behind that move from the west over to the east would be. Any questions on that portion?
Mr. Smith?
Yes, thanks. So this is, it's not a local setback, and it's not, well, local, so it's not zoning board, and it's not Army Corps. This is a Chapter 91. Sounds like it's.
Yes, Chapter 91.
And at the time, do we know whether that was appealed to DEP for a variance?
I do not. Like I said, just trying to narrow down when it happened.
Yeah.
The 30% plans were 2020, and then when the 60% came out in 2021, that's when we noticed the difference on the plans as far as the distance away from the abutting property line. And like I said, it's the best that we can determine is that was during the permitting phase and likely was triggered as a result.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So any other questions on that one? So as we move on to phase 3, the renovation of the Coast Guard boathouse, the construction of a bathhouse, restroom, and installation of a seawater system. So this phase has been separated into renovation of the boathouse and bathhouse construction, which is called phases 3A, and seawater system, phase 3B. There's going to be a test later on the phases. Phase 3A has been awarded to RBO, and that is in the preparation phase. And phase 3B has been brought forward to you tonight for your consideration. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. So now, the numbers. There's going to be a lot of numbers, most of which were in the agenda report, but a lot of these numbers are going to be the backups that were used for that. And I think I'm going to need my glasses too here. So this first slide is what town staff used in 2023. GEI, the engineer for the program, gave us 3 cost estimates at 90%, one for the bulkhead, one for the piers and floats, and one for the upweller. Now, and again, I'm happy to go back to any slide, but a lot of these do have summary and synthesis as we go on. So those 3 estimates were used in the 2024 special town meeting, where you can see that the estimated left to go, which I think I call planned a little bit later, was about 6.4 million, of which we requested a $4 million borrowing authorization from that town meeting, with the remainder 2.4 million being covered by the existing 2017 bond and a Wolf withdrawal. Now, you guys have probably seen that kind of table with the 3x3 with the outside funds, the town funds, and total cost. If you look in the upper right, there's kind of another more detailed information that you don't need to see here, but this is what I brought to the select board in 2026, in a joyous moment. We were looking at our 6.4 number going down to 4.4 because of all the grants we had gotten at the time. And so this doesn't give you all the details, but this should. So this is looking at that 4.4 as of 2026, and the orange and yellow are the work that was still proceeding at the time, and we have a detail of what each constituent within that budget comes from. So at this point, we had added in the move from New Bedford to Chatham. We had the contract in hand for RBO for the piers and floats. We were still using the estimates, 90% estimates of the boathouse and seawater system from GEI. At this point, we also had the news that we had our existing CPC grant, but also our food security infrastructure grant and our additional seaport grant. Moving on to April 24th, 2026, this is when we got our 2 bids back in that were separated, one for the boathouse, one for seawater. Both bids were from RBO. At this point, the boathouse was accepted. Select Board gave permission to authorize, consent to authorize for the boathouse portion of it, but the seawater was rejected because it was significantly more than expectations, and I do have some graphs showing where that escalation came from. So here we are today. As of June 11th, we got our new procurements in because we went to rebid that seawater system almost immediately. And talking about phases and numbers, we broke this procurement up a little bit more, where one, we had some add-alts for galvanized versus stainless for a few things, and also pulled out a lot of the equipment into a separate procurement because we had to get that procurement purchased before the end of this fiscal year. So we have 2 quotes where we just had 1 quote. So this is the N&M Seawater was the lowest qualified responsive bidder of the 3 bids. They were not the lowest bidder, however, there were spreadsheet problems that were submitted from the lowest bidder. So we did have to reject that bid. The seawater equipment, N&M is the lowest responsive bidder at $1.38 million. Town engineer has reviewed their bid package and found that it is an acceptable bid and recommends. The town project manager is reviewing the references, and it does seem like a decent company. The seawater equipment is 1 bid from Duratec for $510,000. And I do have the details of both of these bids that I'll be going through in a couple of slides here. And again, I have synthesis, but I'm happy to go back at any point for any of these that you have questions for. So this is, if we were to not accept the N&M seawater installation and only do what we have to do right now to get that equipment in under the fiscal year, this is the total cost. Of course, it does not include the N&M bid, so there would be additional costs, but we did want to show this at least as potentially a new starting point if we go with the recommended rejection of the seawater install bid. And I do have a timeline at the end to say how that would be affected. So here's one of those synthesis slides. Not sure you'll be able to see all the numbers, but the idea is we have our special town meeting up at the top that had our summary, total cost, town funds, and grant funds. We then had that presentation to the select board in January of 2026. Then we have our bids that came in April. And you can see the green RBO Boathouse was accepted. The red RBO Seawater was rejected at the time. Here we are right now looking at our bids that came in on June 11th. At this point, we'll get into some of the details why, but town staff are recommending not accepting the N&M Seawater, but definitely accepting the Duratec equipment bid. At this point, if we do reject that bid, town staff would recommend revamping the seawater system into multiple submersible pumps instead of the single land-based pump that's in the upboiler system. And Renee will cover some of that information, but there would be additional time and cost involved in that design. Some of those costs are going to offset. That 75,000 probably wouldn't be needed as part of a boiler system that I'll let Renee talk about the exact equipment, but there would be a delay and additional cost. We certainly hope that cost and more would be offset by the new design of the seawater system. This is provided from GI. I think we just got it yesterday, as going from the 800,000 estimate of the seawater system to the $1.5 million estimate of the seawater system. The largest number on there is market escalation at 120,000. We also have 77,500 as part of a biofouling control system. That's something that wasn't in there originally. I believe one of the reasons that this is needed is that the single pump can't be disconnected. So we have to have some way to clean out that system while it's all connected. And if you have specific questions, I'm glad Renee's here. Some of the other
Greg,
larger
just-
prices.
If you can just stay with this slide. So can you just read, what's the title of the slide, so we make sure that we're looking at the right project?
Yes, sorry, so the upper left-hand corner says 800,000 K to 1.5 million. And under the table, it's 2023 seawater system estimate. And as you go down, it gets to that 1.5 million. I'm happy to read out each individual aspect of it. But one of the other large numbers on there is the intake davits and retrieval system. Other than that, this is something that just did keep increasing in cost over time with these additions. There's not that much that could be removed, but we do explore trying to remove some of those things as we go through. And now, Renee could talk about the seawater budget a bit, and we do have some more slides after that.
Good evening. I'm going to be a little redundant here when I just do a recap on some dates and numbers. So on December 2023, that's when we got the 90% and the estimate from GEI that the cost of the seawater system was just under $800,000. And on January 2024, we were awarded $1 million for a Seaport Economic Grant, and that was for the pilings and the piers. So those were all taken into consideration before we went to town meeting with the request for $4 million in the article, and that was to complete all the other phases and complete and bring the project, the whole 90 Bridge Street project to fruition. So that was supported in September 2024. And then in May 2025, another grant opportunity came our way, and that's the Food Security Grant. And it was at that time that we actually requested from GEI an update on the anticipated cost of the seawater system. So that's where we got from the 800,000 to the 1.5. So originally we thought that the big grant was going to actually reduce our obligation, but ultimately it just evened us out. So it brought us back from that 1.5 million back to under the 800,000. And that grant was awarded in September 2025, and we received another grant in January 2026. That was another Seaport Economic Grant for $850,000, and that was for the rehab of the Coast Guard boathouse. And then when we put out to bid, we received just that one bid from RBO. That was on April 2026, and that was for $2.7 million, which was extremely over budget. So that bid was rejected. And that's when the decision was made to separate some of the components of the seawater system out of that original bid. And that would include the tanks, the silos, the runways, so all of the components that we could easily apply to any other kind of system. As Greg said, the reason for that, and I'll go to the next slide, Sorry, Greg.
What
I
button
thought
did you
I
push?
thought I put it forward.
All right, we're
All
back.
right, very good.
And actually, before we move on, let's talk about, so with these bids, and really everything in that right-hand column, just so you know, we talk about additional grants, but unless those grants were specifically intended for the seawater, they don't affect the number. So we did get additional seaport grant, but we didn't put it in that table because it wasn't seawater related.
That's right, and along with we did get one bid for the components, as I was saying, for the tanks, the silos, and that was from Duratec, and that was for $510,000. So combined with the N&M bid for 1.3, it still takes us just under $2 million. And so that's why staff is recommending rejecting the N&M bid, but accepting the Duratec. This one?
Down.
Okay, thank you. No, we're missing one.
No, that was it.
Oh,
Just one more.
I thought it was, this was next.
This one's me, and then it's you.
Okay,
We-
sorry.
We printed you, just yours.
We just went over this very recently, sorry.
Yep, no problem. And one of the other things to kind of consider with that 1.5 number, the lowest bidder for the seawater install, if they had filled out the spreadsheet properly, was just over $1 million. That and the Duratec quote would have gotten us very close to the 1.5 million, which kind of would have gotten us back on track. We were not able to accept that quote, so it's $380,000 more than the 1.5. This is the line item of the quote from N&M for the seawater install. Total cost of $1,380,000. You know, we've kind of been scratching our heads, seeing to see if there's absolutely anything that we can take off to keep the project moving. We did identify some things about like the davit cranes, and really there wasn't that much difference between the galvanized and the stainless. But the davit cranes, if we remove those entirely for a period of time, we could make do with something that it wouldn't be perfect, but could potentially be used. The outfall diffusers weren't necessarily required for permitting, but they're good to have, so that's something that might be removed. A backup pump, we are going to need a backup pump. We might be able to use one of our existing ones for a short time, but that's something that would need to get included later. So, I mean, we do have potential reductions here to get us down to just over $1 million. But one thing that the project manager and I discussed about state procurement is this is not guaranteed. You know, we would have to sign the contract for the full amount and then ask the contractor if they'd be willing to take these out. If they were willing, they would still be within their rights to say that we get our profit margin on each one of those aspects. So that's one of the reasons why town staff is not, you know, recommending going forward with N&M, that and the idea of moving to the submersible pumps versus this system. But we did want to at least talk about how we explored ways to keep moving forward with the current bids. And now it's your turn.
Okay. Excuse me. So as Greg said, there's a timeline, and which is why some of these components were taken out, because we have to expend 75% of that FIG grant in this fiscal year. So we really have to the end of the month. And with the Duratec bid and with the generator, which was always proposed for that facility, it comes out almost exactly to 75%. So that way we would have another 25% in the next fiscal year from that grant. But that's so we don't lose the money, and it's going towards components that can be used in whatever kind of end product that we have. So moving forward, and this, we've had, just a brief discussion since our last bid, but first and foremost is to recommend approving the Duratec bid so that we can buy the equipment that Greg went through. And then moving forward over the next few months is to re-engineer using multiple submerged seawater pumps. So in effect, it would be really replicating what we have now without the bells and whistles. So currently, we have 3 pumps that we use, but there's only 2 on at one time. So that way, we're able to defoul the pumps by alternating the pumps that we have. So there's only always 2 running, and then whichever pump we're not running, it becomes anoxic in the pipes, the biofouling dies, and then we turn on the pump, it smells for 10 seconds, and it goes out the building. So that's what we would have by going back to submersible pumps. So we wouldn't need that heating system. And along with this is we would also build back redundancy, so that if we have an extra pump and one of our pumps goes out, it's going to be an easy replacement. You take a pump out, you put a pump in. With the single upland pump, we were told over and over that it's the best pump you can get, nothing goes wrong with it. Those of us who work with a lot of mechanical things have a lot of questions about that. So it's definitely more comforting for us to have some redundancy and know that we would be able to replace pumps if needed. Now, ultimately, we got to the one pump system going through a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different options. And one of the big and main issues is those submersible pumps cost us a lot of money to rehab every year. So I think going forward, if this is the option that we choose, there may be a capability of doing those kinds of things in-house, training personnel to be able to rehab those pumps. Mostly, it's done, you change out the seal, you change out, we usually send them out to New Bedford, and this is one of the other things that is very problematic for us when we were reviewing this system. The place that we have been going through since this came into effect is no longer doing rehab. So last year we brought our pumps to to Boston, and it was 3 times the cost. So looking at in-house is part of this discussion if we return back to our submersibles. Anyhow, going forward, if the redesign happens in the next 3 months, and then we go out through procurement, the lead time for submersibles is much less than the one upland pump. I would think it's like an 8-month time lead for the one pump, but for our pumps, it's like 1.5 to 2 months at most. So ultimately, if this works out in this scenario, we could still be up and running by next April.
I believe that's the last slide. Town staff is here for your questions.
Okay, kids, okay, that's a lot. You're asking us tonight to approve the 510 for the basics, for the, I forget what the tubs or whatever.
That's correct.
No matter what seawater system we go with, is the money that we are considering to expend the 510, is all that equipment fungible with no matter what seawater system we pick? Guaranteed?
So we are going to have the engineer do the redesign based on that equipment.
Okay.
And they have told us that that equipment can be incorporated.
Is it similar to the equipment we have today in the upweller system?
The submersibles?
It's very basic.
No, I'm actually talking about what we have inside the building. Never mind. I
Right.
know we have submersibles, but.
And the tanks and the pumps were designed with that building in mind. And so they're still going to fit in that building. And it's just really how you get the water into the building is what we're really kind of redesigning. So the tanks and the silos would be the same. And what's different with this one versus the current one is that each tank and the silos and the animals have a separate intake water system. If you've been to our current facilities, we have top tanks and we have bottom tanks. And those bottom tanks don't have a direct line to fresh water. They're getting all the water from the old tanks above. So that's why this system was designed to have more, it needed more gallons per minute, because each tank is going to have its own water source coming in for faster growth.
Gotcha. Was that design similar to what ARC has or Nantucket or what the state of the art in the industry, Renee?
Well,
we doing our own
upwellers
thing?
don't deviate that much.
Okay, I
It's
didn't think.
really,
I
it's
didn't
really tanks, silos, animals, water coming in, water going out.
Okay.
They're very, compatible all along, and it's a,
And on the numbers, the only other question I have, then I'll turn it over to everybody else, but on the different seawater systems, you're recommending that we not approve N&M because you think you can get the same results at lower cost somewhere else, or you're going to rebid with the other outfit?
So that is our recommendation, not to accept
Yes.
the N&M bid. We would redesign and go through procurement again.
Okay.
Whoever bids. We can't, force or guarantee any single person to bid. I think with this new submersible pump design, we might get some more qualified bidders because that pump might have scared some people off.
Okay.
We hope the price will be less. There's no guarantees, but we're doing everything to reduce the price.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll be quiet here. I'll go down the line, I guess. Dean, your hand's up. I'll recognize you, please, Mr. Nacastro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to take long. I was concerned about the difference between the submersibles and the more sophisticated system, because that system lasts longer, according to the memo. But it's a very complicated situation, and I think Renee and Greg have explained why they've chosen to go with the submersibles, and have indicated that there may be ways where we can internally maintain that system. So I think their recommendation makes a lot of sense, and I would certainly favor approving the propagation equipment contract of $510,000 this evening, and let them redesign and rebid on the seawater system, if I understand it correctly. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, I do think you understand it correctly, Mr. Castro. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Jeff. Where to begin? We all hearken back to, and I think you've done the right thing going with submersible pumps. You're absolutely right. There's more people that can deal with that as opposed to what was originally designed. I can't imagine what it costs to design that alone. But I think you're on a much better track with trying to improve what you have. And it sounds like that's where we're headed. It also, am I correct in that, I feel like there's deja vu, but different project, not this one, but if we don't spend this money, we're going to lose it by June 30.
So I think you're referencing the Seaport Economic Council grant in fiscal year '26, and that was for the RBO Boathouse at 90 Bridge. And yes, it was never our intention to put this kind of time frame on, but things are coming up.
Yeah, and I get it. I lived it. I think that there's ways to address this, but it's in a much broader discussion. So anyway, point being, the equipment can be compatible with what we think we're designing, which might be pretty close to what we have as far as conceptually. And we need to spend that money by June 30 because we're going to lose a large portion of it. We don't want that.
Correct. The granting agency actually gave us some flexibility to do 75% this year and 25% next year. We asked for a lot, and we, got this, and we're very grateful that they didn't have to do that.
Yeah. So can we go to the last page of this memo? And I don't know whether this is still relevant. This is it's not numbered, but it's the last page. It's a graph. Goes over the seawater intakes at the top, ending with system startup and testing. And did you mention, I'm sorry, did you mention the engineering for the system that you're looking at now? Was that up there? Did I see that number?
We got a very rough estimate of 75,000 from GEI for the redesigned 2 submersibles.
Okay. So let's, certain things jump out at me, no matter what the project is. And one of them is, miscellaneous plumbing work. It looks like, see if I got clean glasses here, but are we looking at $378,000?
Is this the N&M bid? I'm sorry, I just,
No, it's RBO and NM excavating.
It's on the-
There's it's a large grid comparing all the bids.
It's on the back page of Dan Robbins.
Page of our package.
okay, I'm sorry, I don't think I have it on the, oh, good. Thank you, Kathy. I think that's the one thing I didn't print.
There it is, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the bid review from, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're looking at.
I think it's on the back page of Dan Robbins.
So Stuart, I think if I'm just looking at what you're looking at, and if I'm reading it correctly, to answer your question, like under miscellaneous plumbing work, 3 bidders, moving waters, that number was 40 grand. N&M was 10 grand.
Yeah.
RBO was 370,000, 840,000. Subtle difference.
That's
Close,
kind of where
close.
kind of where I was headed.
Radical differences.
Is there do we have an explanation for that? I feel like calling Mr. Auer and going, I just don't.
They haven't shared precisely what their estimates were for that. I couldn't begin to guess why that unit price is so high for that one line.
And it's well, it's kind of all over the miscellaneous electrical work. First, I was stuck on miscellaneous. That's if moving waters was 143,000. I'd just like to know what miscellaneous actually is getting us. But I get what the floating dock shore tie stanchion. What are we? I mean, I'm familiar with the shore tie, but are we plugging in a boat here, or is this something different?
I'd have to pull up the bid specs, but that's my take on it too, calling it shore tie. I'm assuming that's the power line?
The power line for, well, Robert Auer, oh my goodness, 75,000, the others were 6 and 10,000. Well, I don't know what floating dock shore tie stanchion is. What I'm familiar with is, your 60 or 30 amp shore tie. And I hope it's not 75,000. I don't know what this is. So another question. Now, the titanium heat exchanger, is that still being considered, or is in this?
So this one is for the seawater system?
Yeah, well.
It is.
Yeah. So all of these still included the original single pump method that did have the boiler heat exchanger system in it.
Okay.
Which we're going to render moot.
Yeah, I was trying to digest, I was trying to back into this,
Stuart,
what this has cost.
If I might, I think that, I'm not speaking for them, I have not communicated with them, but the RBO is a throwaway bid as far as I can see.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just a throwaway. That's the only way I can figure it, Stuart.
And are you still going to have the steel, well, forget what type of material, you're going to still have the davit cranes for the 3 pumps? Are you going to use the barge like we used to? I don't know.
We-
I'm just looking at that number.
It'll be part of the redesign. One of the ideas is to have that davit, to have it easier to lift the seawater intakes to clean them. So that would have to happen a certain number of times a season.
For us?
If we switch to submersible pumps, we need to bring it up.
No.
I mean, when you,
Well, there's new permitting requirements on intake pumps, so they do have to have cages around the intake, and I suspect those will have to be cleaned. But if those might be easily rectified by having just like we have a hydraulic pump that we can raise our pumps in and out right now, and then just taking a power hose and doing it right from those docks that we have. So in order for us to be comparable with the land pump, we're going to have 4 submergible pumps.
4.
3 on at all times, and then 1 off to be recycled through.
And one thing I was just reminded of, one of the things under miscellaneous plumbing work from RBO that they talked about during the site walk for the bid was potentially constructing their own float that would be underneath and restrictions of tide and those kind of aspects. That's an expensive float, but that they talked about that as being one of the drivers.
Okay, so you're going to, the cost of the davits, what's the lifting capacity of those davits? Are they just lifting that pump?
Our pumps currently are approximately 250 pounds clean. So at the end of the season, they're
Little more.
They're a little more.
But
We're expecting to up it a little bit, Stu. So right now, our current pumps are 7.5 horsepower, and we're going to up that to a 10 horsepower so we can get up to the pumping capacity as the on-land pump.
Okay, do we know what the davits are going to cost each? About?
So N&M's bid on the davits for 2,000-pound capacity were $35,000 each.
2,000 pounds?
Yes.
that's a ton.
That's the, what are you lifting with this?
They were originally designed for the seawater intakes, not for submersible pumps. It's potential they were heavier, but that was the recommendation from the engineer to go with the 2,000-pound cranes, which is actually a lot less than over at the South Jog.
Well, just from perspective for you folks in the public, the trap dock, which isn't very old, those are 2,000-pound davits. I think they were $10,000 a piece. So I'm trying to understand why the engineer would possibly spec a 2,000-pound lift capacity for a pump that, I don't know, let's forget 250, say it's 500. I'm at a loss.
And I think that's a good point, too, that those 2,000-pound davits were 10,000 how many years ago, and now they're 35. And that's, not the height of it.
No, I get it. I'm talking, well, the cost is one thing. I mean, it's the lifting capacity. My point is, related to the last meeting, is we tend to over-engineer things. And I think this is a project that got over-engineered. Looks like you guys are trying to get it back appropriately. But I'm just here to tell you as a layman, 2,000-pound lifting capacity for those pumps is absurd. And there's a large part of your cost issue with that specific line item. So I'd scrutinize, I know Dan, you can ask Dan, where did you get how could we possibly need that lifting capacity for, and how many do you want one for each?
Yeah, it was going to be one for each, so 4 total.
Well, I just assume that, in your re-engineer, it's going to encompass some of those things, because that's just wildly out of whack in my thinking, and I think it's, anyway.
Definitely opportunities to sharpen the engineer's pencil.
Well, if you want to use this engineer, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to support the purchase because I think we're kind of, once again, I feel like I have a gun to my head that we have to do this. I get it. But, you know, we really, as a board, need to look at how we got here and why and how we cannot repeat it again. It's a good learning experience. I have some thoughts on maybe how we can rectify it so we don't, because this isn't the only one. This isn't the only project, and it's a great project. You know, we got the preservationists, we got the Coast Guard people, we got the boating community because they got additional dockage, we got the commercial fleet, and we got the shellfish upweller. So it is a good project, but I implore you to put some realism into some of those, what the engineer is trying to spec. Thanks.
Randy Potash.
Yep, I would just, I agree with Dean that, you know, the explanation has made perfect sense. I agree with Stu that we need to be particular about the numbers, and I trust that you are. I know that, at least for Renee, she treats these shellfish like they're the town's children. And so when you talk, I believe you. And I know that you're in the best interest of this shellfish program, and that everything that you say is very focused on the best interest of the program. So I support, and I'm ready to do a motion when everybody's ready, that we authorize what you suggested.
Corey, any comment?
Just brief. I mean, I'm going to support this, but and I'm not going to try to beat a dead horse, but looking at these numbers, I don't ever recall seeing something where it's, you usually see the, you know, with multiple bidders and kind of things tier up accordingly. These are all over the place. They really are. I mean, and you're trying to compare apples for apples, and you've got some categories where things are, you know, drastically high from one bidder, and then, you know, ridiculously low on that, you know, from the same bidder on another category. So I've never seen this kind of variety of numbers on any project I've ever reviewed. So this is definitely interesting. You know, you guys are doing your due diligence, and you know, we're going to get this project done soon, right? So yeah, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Yeah, I just echo my fellow select board members. Yeah, let's move on with the 510 and get the shellfish propagation equipment that we need, and I look forward to the revision of the seawater system. I think you guys are on the right track. This is unique. We haven't really done this before. I do question where the heck, especially RBO got some of these numbers, but anyway, let's move on. Ms. Potash, you are ready for a motion.
Yeah, sure. I move that the Select Board authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Duratech Industrial and Marine Limited for the 90 Bridge Street redevelopment shellfish propagation equipment project in the amount of $510,055, representing the total base bid.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Stuart. Okay, we'll take the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greg, don't go anywhere. Just as a matter of introduction, Greg is our Director of Natural Resources, and very fascinated to hear of your entire background, Greg. Certified professional geologist, former Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute coastal process specialist, and former U.S. Geological Survey hydrologist. Is that correct? Yeah. So we have quite a talented young man here. And I asked for just a groundwater briefing and some education session on the Monomoy lens, if you will. And I want to, with the aim toward clarifying the kind of local folklore of, well, if I have a private well, I'm not impacting the public water supply. So I just really want to put that piece of folklore, if you will, to bed. So off to you, and you did a really good summary memo, and I look forward to listening to you.
Absolutely, thank you. And in some ways, this is to make me feel better for not having, you know, an hour at town meeting to go over all of this.
Well, this is one of the reasons why you're here. Yep.
And, you know, the briefing has been provided. I believe it's in the agenda packet. What we'll cover these topics. This is really an opportunity to kind of talk about the individual figures. I have some from the agenda briefing, and I also have some additional ones. But primarily, we're going to be talking about, what is the Monomoy lens, how the groundwater moves through it. As the chair mentioned, the difference between municipal wells versus private irrigation and what they draw from and contribute to. And then a little bit about sea level rise at the end, because I can't help myself. So as we talk about groundwater, very basically, this is all coming from surface rain coming down. It enters the unconfined aquifer of Cape Cod. This is a very schematic drawing, just kind of showing the idea that we have a freshwater lens floating on top of saline groundwater, and then eventually, if you get low enough, you get down to bedrock. This next image shows a little bit more detail about Cape Cod and some of those groundwater lenses. Kind of the two largest of the ones we hear about are the Sagamore over in the west and the Monomoy lens, which is the lens for Chatham and several of the other adjacent towns.
Greg?
Yes.
What towns draw from the Monomoy lens?
I'm not sure if it goes all the way to Barnstable. I'd have to put the town lines on there. But if you look at those concentric rings, that's the groundwater elevation heights.
Okay.
So everything that moves out like a contour, that's the direction it's going to. So everything from like the Orleans, Chatham, Brewster line right there, where that 30 number is, it's moving out kind of in a ring from that. So it's feeding up to Orleans, all of Chatham, and perhaps we'd have some more.
If I may, so yeah, Orleans, Chatham, Brewster, Harwich, parts of Dennis, and Yarmouth as well.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Don't go far.
Thank you.
And most of those graphics in the briefing and almost all the ones here are from the USGS and NOAA and a variety of sources. They're all referenced on the third page of that briefing as if anybody wants to look in more depth or just see where they came from. So as we look at the water table lens, and I mentioned a little bit right now, it's all about gravity with water, especially in an unconfined aquifer, that water goes down, nothing different there. It's a little bit higher at the 30, and it moves towards those rings kind of in a line. So here's another look. I don't like where they took this cross-section, but just it shows a good image. This one's through the Sagamore lens. You can kind of see that A at the bottom of the image. That's A from Cape Cod Bay up on the left down in Nantucket Sound. But it just shows the recharge from rain going down. At Sagamore, it actually goes down to bedrock in some places with no saline lens underneath it. But you can kind of see that our ponds, lakes, those kinds of things are just where it gets low enough to intersect with the groundwater. So our groundwater, our Monomoy lens is what's feeding our streams and ponds in the area. Here's another image. It's a little bit more complicated, but it does at least cover our town. That image in the upper right, that black line, kind of shows what this cross-section is. A thick black line, horizontal up at the top. And it shows kind of from Bass River all the way out to Monomoy. Your land surface is yellow. Your water table, the fresh water, is that purplish color. And you can see over in our area, we have a decent amount of fresh water, but then when we get closer to the shoreline, we have more salt water underlying that. And a lot of these are designed to be regional Cape Cod kind of models. We don't have really fine-grained models here. That could be something that we explore in the future, but let's get through this and see what we understand at the end. This shows a pumping well. A couple of images. The left-hand image is kind of top-down, bird's-eye view, and the idea is there's a specific area that's recharging a well. You'll often hear about like well protection zones and things like that. It's because that area feeds that one well spot. Over on the right-hand side is that cross-section of the area, and it shows that at a certain depth, the well is screened in a saturated area, and kind of that darker blue, that's where the water is coming from. So that area contributing recharge, the surface water goes down, goes into the saturated zone, and it's only coming out of that screened elevation. There can be levels below it, there can be levels above it, and there is a little bit, so all this area, the water, saturated water in the land is moving from left to right, but you can see there's actually a little bit to the right of the well going in, just due to suction. It's kind of pulling it back against the gradient. You might not be able to see all the images on here, but actually goes into a surface water body, whether that's a pond or the ocean itself. If you have a well, you get some drawdown of that water table at the surface, and you get a small reversal on the down gradient side of that well. And then that C image down at the bottom kind of shows what happens if you pump too hard, right? So you can actually pump so much that you're reversing the gradient and you might be drawing in saline water. Another thing that can happen that I'll talk about a little bit later is with rising sea level rise, that salt gradient is higher and you might get that even if you're pumping at the same levels. This is one where, if you were to put two wells too close together, you start to get multiple drawdowns in the same area and you're just not getting, the same benefit you would as a well that's not interacting with another one. So this particular set of images, this slide and the next slide, come from a 2007 report. I feel like this is something that's referenced fairly often. This has to do with the modeling for the wastewater treatment facility. This is a schematic model of cores or borings that we're taking. Some are monitoring wells, but mostly boring well records. B-O-R-I-N-G, I guess it's still spelled like that. It's not boring to me anyway. So we're looking at clay or silty clay. So those kind of layers are the impervious, where you don't get water penetrating through it. You can get a lens on top of that clay. It's mentioned a few times in this image. It's mentioned a little bit more extensively in this image. So those black lines here show a layer of clay. One can kind of almost assume a layer kind of continuous through these. But one thing that we did do was take a look at some of the well records over the last years that were drilled by private irrigation wells, really. So only about 30% of those wells actually had any clay whatsoever. So depending on exactly where they were, it's unlikely we have a continuous clay layer all the way across Chatham. When you get that and you start to get high elevations, you may have heard of like artisanal flow, that if you get rain falling up in the mountain, then it goes under the clay, and then it has a lot of pressure, and if you pierce it, it pumps back out vertically. We don't have that. It's unconfined such that it's just kind of sand. The clay is going to slow it down a bit or have a small perched lens, but then it all just goes into the sand in kind of one water body. I feel like there is a bit more clay kind of on the western side of town versus the eastern, but we haven't done a deep dive on that. And then just looking at some of the depths of the private wells versus the municipal wells, not that different. I mean, we don't get that many private ones going that deep, but it is kind of a range for both of them.
Greg, if you could go back to.
Sure.
So where do those, is this town statistics?
I actually had Andrew Grover, our new health inspector, pull up septic records and, not septic records, the well records for the private wells. Neat side note, we were able to take about, 45 PDFs, crank them into AI, and it spit out a table for us. We vetted it thoroughly, but we were able to get this in a matter of minutes instead of dedicating staff time to read all those PDFs and pull all this out.
Crazy.
All the spot checks were great.
Thank you.
Sure. This is another image, I believe back from the wastewater treatment modeling time. I'm just throwing it up there to get a feel for where our public supply wells are. So those yellow dots there, predominantly on the west side of town, a little bit up in North Chatham. And I'm going to compare that to, that idea of a gradient or water flowing out or kind of down those hills of the contour, right? So here in Chatham, it's almost all flowing kind of towards the south and towards the east.
So our South Chatham wells, 1, 2, and 3 are the most productive wells. Is that because they pump all the time, or
That's pretty much because there are 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So that, they're pretty productive, but I mean, and our wells pump anywhere from like 350 gallons per minute to up to 700 gallons per minute.
Yeah, okay, all right, thanks.
So this isn't a very fine scale picture. Like I'd love to get a tighter one, but it just shows the idea, kind of hearkening back to that recharge area. This actually shows like those purple images. Purple zones on there are areas that are recharging to a well. I'm pretty sure that purple zone corresponds to those wells right there. But it's not just, wells, it also feeds the ponds and streams. So all these things are connected, not just our municipal water supply. So those 3 numbers are kind of Cape-wide. It's not just for Chatham. It would take a lot more to get that number. But just wanted to give a feel, because people have said, most of our water just goes offshore. And that's not wrong. About 70%, 69% goes and discharges directly into the coastal zone. 24% of that goes into our streams and ponds. About 7% of that is public supply wells, and that's Cape Cod based again. Private irrigation wells are less than 1%. And I think one of the things to think about too is where those irrigation wells are, if they're within certain areas of recharge to municipal, but even if they're not within the municipal recharge area, they may be in a recharge area for a pond, a stream, but also, reducing water flow in that way can change the gradients. So you're not going to have as much freshwater push against the saltwater push on one side, and you can actually shift the gradient to some of those transition zones. So this is my obligatory sea level rise, I'm sorry. Okay. So the top image is kind of the before, the bottom image is afterwards. And the idea is as you increase the ocean level, you're going to increase the saline gradient, which is going to kind of push back against that fresh water that's moving towards the coast. It creates a little bulge, and you're going to get higher groundwater levels in those areas. Sometimes there'll be additional seeps going into the streams and ponds. Mostly we talk about, the Title V septic needs 5 feet of separation to be clean. But you can potentially have an issue with that, especially in the near coastal zones. So that image over on the left, and this is from a USGS study a number of years ago, takes a look at what a 6-foot increase in sea level is going to do. And I would just take a look to see that red circle kind of in the middle, mostly the middle of that monomoy lens. That's where it's less than a foot of difference in the water table. Everywhere else is more than a foot, and there's some areas that are quite a bit more. If you're right at sea level rise, you're getting full 6 feet of water level change, even in the freshwater zone. But 6 feet is quite a bit. And this modeling it had some interesting results that it was actually going to change some of the gradients, so it was going to drain faster, so the water table might not be as high in some places, but it was one of those where, we need more study. But it is going to affect it. Most of the effect is going to be in the coastal areas. One of the things I was talking with our health department about, and one of the things that encourages me is we kind of are keeping track of this, although not specifically for this. So as we get more sodium in these irrigation wells, it's going to be spraying saltier water on the grass. That's going to kill the grass. People are going to come in and request new or deeper wells or in different areas, and that's going to, trigger us taking a look to see if certain areas are seeing more saline input in some of these irrigation wells. Additionally, every time a property changes hands, a septic look is done to see if we still have that 5 foot of separation. And if it's not, they need to get that 5 foot. If we see a certain area where everybody coming in is a foot or two less than they used to be, that's kind of indicating that we're starting to see this. So that's one thing that was fairly exciting, is we actually do have some interesting data coming in for this, and I'm definitely going to be keeping a track on it. Core messages, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. A lot of this was in the briefing. And really, we can go to the takeaways at the end, and I'm happy to answer questions. The main takeaways are everything's drawn from the same aquifer. The private wells, public wells, they're different. They may go to different depths. We can't necessarily drill municipal wells in different aquifers. It's still all the same aquifer connected to the ponds, the streams, the estuaries, and everything. And, groundwater is to be managed for all those things, whether it's municipal, whether it's for irrigation, and even for our water bodies and their saline levels. But happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you, Greg. That was great. That was really interesting. Mr. Smith has a comment or question.
Greg, this is fantastic. I mean, really well done. The memo is very clear. I was impressed when I first read it, and I appreciate it because there's a lot of just not great information about this subject. And I can Google and I can read, but this one puts it all in, really good perspective. I think this will be really helpful. I hope you put it on your website, and I hope the Chronicle does an article on it, because this is very important, and anybody can read it, and it's verifiable, and you've got all the right, you cite the right agencies, and you certainly have the background, so thank you.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Potash.
No, I agree with everything Stuart just said. I don't have anything else to add. I thank you for doing it, and I do hope it goes on the website and that the Chronicle does an article, for sure.
Corey.
I'll just echo my two colleagues. It's a great job.
Thank you. It was nice to kind of harken back to some of my previous lives.
Well, you could feel the passion over here. It's really well done, Greg, and I really appreciate your effort and your following up. Dean, you have anything you'd like to say or add? His hand's not up, so I won't bug him.
It looks fine to me.
Good. Thank you,
I
Dean.
appreciate it. Very fine presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Okay, Greg, you're off the hook. Thank you very, very, very much. And we are going to post it on the website. I mentioned it to Jill under my breath. So anyway, we are going to post it. Yeah, Brian, yes. Mr. Phillips.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. So was the point of this presentation saying that all these public wells are not going to affect the aquifer?
Not quite.
Too bad. I have more questions.
So, everything we do affects the aquifer. The municipal wells draw down in certain areas, the private irrigation wells draw down, the ponds, they take in fresh water. Streams are draining water from the water table, taking it out to the coast. Most of the water does go offshore. Some of it travels so deep that none of our wells are touching it, and it just gets out into the ocean. But that said, there's only so much usable fresh water kind of within the zone we're looking for. I mean, Rob knows, when you start looking for new wells and deeper wells, you come into manganese and PFAS and all kinds of issues, even if you're not within the, recharge zone of another well. But, yeah.
How big is our lens? How many gallons of water? Do we have that number? Do we have any way of tracking it?
It's definitely in that USGS paper. That's one of the sources on there.
Okay. So essentially way I understand, I know I'm asking a lot of stupid questions, sorry.
No.
As long as our water usage is less than what recharges, we're okay, right? So there's like a breaking point kind of? Because you said it was from precipitation. That's how we get it.
Yeah. So, precipitation is the most uncertain. At least with our wells, municipal wells, we know how much we're pumping. In a given year, we don't necessarily know how much it's going to rain. A lot of the climate change discussion, which I really haven't gotten into, is, how that's going to change precipitation patterns. A lot of talk about that we may get similar rainfall amounts. It may be more punctuated, which doesn't give it time to infiltrate. It just runs directly in. That may not answer your question, but.
Well, I got one more. And you touched on it a little bit, but what happens if we do run our aquifer too low? What are some of the negative consequences of that?
Sure. So if, and I think you're kind of talking about like irrigation and municipal wells, that's primary, the drivers of removing water from the table. A couple things would be, bringing salt water further inland. And that can actually change some of our estuarine bodies. It can increase salinity in some areas. Some of the ponds won't have as high levels. Some of the streams may not, recharge as quickly. And then, in larger kind of scale zones, if we pump too much, then the water table lens is going to be lower. The ones with the shortest straws are going to go dry first for these wells.
So now, if we do run, it low and too low, can salt water actually get into our, our drinking water lens?
So most of those municipal wells are pretty far inland. So it's going to be a substantial amount of suction or lack of recharge that would drive that. I haven't done the math, but I'd be very surprised if those did that.
And do we have any way of, again, tracking, what our usage is compared to, what's recharged? Or did you say that's in the packet already?
Yeah, those numbers should be in that briefing memo, and, Select Board, Brian, people,
We're going to post
feel
that.
free to get in touch.
We're going to post on the website, Brian. It's really interesting and it's really informative.
All right.
Part of the presentation is summarizing a package we got. It's
All right,
really
thank
good. Yeah, you bet. Okay. We're going to move on to the next agenda item. Again, thank you, Mr. Berman. The last agenda item in our business agenda this evening is a consideration of appointments and reappointments to our committees, and I will turf it off to Jill and Kathy. Kathy, why don't you take it away? And I know there's a suggestion motion in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, we're in the season of reappointments and appointments. The board has been active with interviews of incumbent members. And tonight, what you have before you are, first, a list of incumbent members seeking reappointment to non-advisory committees, boards, and commissions, AKA statutory and regulatory boards and committees. These are members that did not have anyone who came forward for their seats, and the board did not ask for to re-interview these candidates at this time. So I broke it out by committee, which members were up for reappointment. And I believe in this list, there's only one alternate member listed. The rest are all full members. Again, a reminder, full members' terms are 3-year terms, and associate or alternate member terms are 1-year terms. Similar to the advisory committee report, which you did at the last meeting, I've put together a slate of candidates for you to just take one motion rather than go committee by committee, but it is obviously the board's prerogative. If you wish to go name by name and committee by committee, that's your prerogative, but I did try to combine it for ease. So you'll see the suggested motion and then the list, like the comprehensive list of everybody in that group. So I don't know if you want to take that first, and then I can talk about the next grouping.
I think that's probably a good approach, unless anybody is concerned about the notion of voting for the incumbents and that one alternate, all at once. And we can actually list them so folks know who we're voting for. Maybe the clerk would read out the list of what would might be the suggested motion. That would be good, and then we'll take a vote.
Sure. An incumbent member seeking reappointment to a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2029, Affordable Housing Trust. That would include Bruce Bean, Leslie
Schneeberger, yep.
and Hannah Smith. The Airport Commission, Alfred Trier and Peter Farber. Board of Health, Carol Gordon. Cemetery Commission, Peter Gaines. Conservation Commission, Elise Gordon, Janet Williams, Karen Latin. Historical Commission, Nancy Barr, Janet Tennyson, Peter Donovan. Human Services Committee, Susan Whitcomb. Planning Board, Art Sprue and Robert Dubus.
Thank you,
And
Rhiannon.
suggested motion is I move to appoint the slate of candidates as presented for reappointment through June 30th, 2029 for full member seats and through June 30th, 2027 for the alternate associate member seats unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take a roll call, if that's okay. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Thank you, and Mr. Dyken says aye as well. Okay, Kathy, on to the next
Okay.
section of potential candidates, or appointments, I should say.
So the next group, these are kind of a combination of either committees that had vacant seats and the select board recently interviewed candidates, or it's a committee that has an incumbent and a new candidate that the board has interviewed. So again, this one I broke out by committee because there's considerations for the select board for each one. So starting with the Airport Commission, there is a vacancy as, on the Airport Commission. The board interviewed Lee Gatewood. He was the only candidate for that commission at this time.
Entertain a motion or discussion? Motion.
So one at a time, it would
Yep.
be the Airport Commission. I move to appoint Lee Gatewood as a member of the Airport Commission until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And then the chair says aye.
All right.
Assessors.
Yes, the Board of Assessors is next. Robert B. France is currently serving. He has indicated interest in being reappointed. And on June 2nd, the Select Board did interview Frank DiFilippo, who had expressed interest in either the Board of Assessors or Water and Sewer Advisory Committee. Water and Sewer Advisory Committee is a little later in this list as well, but it's up to the board. There is only one seat open for, one seat that has a term that's up for reappointment, so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Nacastro?
I was going to offer a motion on this one.
Please do.
I move to appoint Robert B. France as a member of the Board of Assessors until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll take the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well. Okay, we'll move on to the Board of Health.
So the Board of Health currently has two alternates, one vacant member seat through June 30th, 2029, and two alternate seats with terms ending June 30th, 2027. On June 9th, the Select Board did interview Griffin Lloyd, and he had expressed interest in multiple committees, but with a real interest in the Board of Health. He is before you, and I know that tonight someone else was also interviewed who had expressed interest in the Board of Health as well, but again, there is one full member seat and two alternate seats open.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the Board of Health.
Sure. I move to appoint Griffin Lloyd as a member of the Board of Health until June 30, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Please.
So Corey, it's your intent, you think we should appoint Griffin as the full member and at this juncture?
Yeah,
All right, well,
I think he's qualified. It's a double-edged, there's no wrong candidate to serve. I'm just giving him a nod.
no, and I want to give him a nod too, and I fully support him to be appointed. I kind of put myself out on a limb with the other candidate today. So I'm going to stick with what I had said to Mr. Siegel, and I'm going to recommend that Griffin be the associate member at this juncture.
Okay.
I think Griffin has a lot of longevity in this position, and he will be a full member in a New York minute, I'm sure.
Okay.
So I think there needs, Mr. Chair, I think there needs to be a second nomination from what I'm hearing.
It does.
So we'll have two names to choose from for the
Correct.
full position. And then we can have a second vote, a motion on vote on the alternate position.
No, I think we're limited
Right
to,
now, we're limited to just the full.
Griffin Lloyd and whether he'd be a full member or a associate member.
Yeah,
Why
because,
would we be limited? We've interviewed both candidates.
We interviewed them tonight. I mean,
So
okay.
I want to, no.
I'm sorry, Craig, I'm not sure I understand why you think we're
So-
limited.
Traditionally, when we have candidates up for action, we list them. And like, we didn't list it in the agenda tonight. I know, maybe it's splitting hairs. I mean, the assumption would be that next week we would appoint the candidate we interviewed tonight to whatever position we choose. I'm not trying to micromanage
No,
anything.
I mean, I do agree with Corey. Typically, we wait a week or so and post it then, take the vote. I mean, we can put it, you can put his name in nomination tonight if you'd like. Randy, that's fine. If you want to nominate Bert Siegel, that's okay.
I think I'll go with the usual. I remember that you always wait two, not to contradict Dean, but
Yep.
basically, I think we can get Mr. Siegel next time.
Yes, we will.
And I guess I would nominate Griffin Lloyd, is his name, for an associate member. So that's the way I would do
Okay, and
it.
you're going to need a second.
Okay, sure.
It would be an alternate member.
No, an alternate member, yes.
Yeah, an
So that's what I would do.
And you nominated for the.
I nominated him for a full, to
full-
2029. Randy is nominating him to 2027, basically,
As an alternate, and there has not been a second on her nomination.
nor mine.
Well, I'll second Corey's nomination.
Okay.
I had Ms. Potash, so Ms. Potash, you
Oh,
had
sorry.
seconded Mr. Metter's
That's right.
motion. Are you withdrawing that for your?
So we're not taking any action on Mr. Siegel tonight?
We are not.
Either way?
Right, correct.
Okay, so there's one, I think there should be just, given that, there should be just one motion on the table.
And there is.
And that's Corey's motion that was seconded initially by Randy
Correct.
to nominate, to appoint Griffin Lloyd as a full member.
She's withdrawing her second, and Stuart is seconding.
Okay.
Corey said, that's exactly what's happening, okay? So it's for Griffin Lloyd for a term of 3 years as a full member of the Board of Health. I'll run the roll here. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And the chair says aye as well.
Okay. Council on Aging Board of Directors is up next. On May 26th, the Select Board interviewed Tom Beaver for the one seat that is currently vacant. There are no other candidates for the Council on Aging at this time, so.
So this one's easy. I moved to appoint Tom Beaver for the seat that has been vacated by Stan Mansfield to the Council on Aging.
I'll
Board of
second that.
Directors.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
I just wanted to clarify, that's until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed. That's
Yes,
part of the.
sorry about
part of
that. I left that out, yes.
And aye.
Okay, and the chair says aye as well. Historical, let's see.
Next is Energy and
Action.
Climate Action Committee. On May 19th, the board interviewed Morgan White for a seat that will be vacant as of June 30th, 2026. There are no other candidates at this time for the Energy and Climate Action Committee.
Okay, so I move to appoint Morgan White as a member of the Energy and Climate Action Committee until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And Mr. Dyken says aye as well. Okay, water and
Now,
sewer.
On to Historical Commission.
I'm sorry, historical.
There is a vacant alternate seat currently on the Historical Commission, and on January 27th, 2026, the Select Board did interview Maura Cook. For that alternate seat at the time, there were two candidates at that time, only one seat. A second seat will be vacant, and Ms. Cook is up for consideration for that seat.
Yep, all right, very good. So I move to appoint Mara Cook as an alternate member of the Historical Commission until June 30th, 2027, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yeah, I just want to point out, she's going to be replacing Sandy Porter, who's been on the board for a long time and is voluntarily stepping down. Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well, and I would love to write a thank you note to Ms. Porter. Okay, thanks.
And finally, for tonight, the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee, both Bruce Bogardus and Debbie Aikman currently serve on the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee, and both have terms ending the end of this month and are both interested in being reappointed. Again, on June 2nd, the board interviewed Frank DiFilippo, who had indicated this was a committee he was interested in as well. So the motion has 2 blanks currently for the board to select which 2 people they would like to appoint.
Probably just individually, though. And I don't think we've ever seen a paired motion.
I think you'd done it once or twice, once in the past, but you could do it individually again.
Why don't we do it individually?
Yeah.
Okay, so nomination, Bruce Bogardus?
Nominate, a second, I'll second.
Okay. Okay, call the roll. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Again, with that qualifying
Yeah, it's
language.
ending
Yes.
June
Yes.
30th.
Yes.
Yes.
We're slipping tonight.
And then the chair says aye as well. Debbie Aikman, please.
And
Mr.
that-
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to appoint Debbie Aikman
Yep.
as a member of the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or successor is appointed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we'll call the roll.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
But I want to add that that will be until June 30th, 2029, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Potash.
And I vote yes.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Here we go, turn the page.
So that concludes all of the appointments, but I did want to, the final part of the memo just kind of reviews what committees remain. The Community Preservation Committee, as you are aware, that is comprised of representatives of various town committees. I've received to date, I believe, 2 of the recommendations, and I'm waiting on the 3rd to bring forward so that you can reappoint those representatives to the CPC. The Cultural Council, you interviewed a candidate tonight, and that will be brought forth next week. But also, there was a candidate also interviewed, I believe, last week.
It was.
So you'll have currently 2 candidates for 1 seat, although the chair indicated on June 9th he may be expanding. That has not yet been received, so it would most likely be 2 candidates for 1 seat next week. And then Parks and Rec Commission, David Mallows, he's currently serving, and he's expressed interest in being reappointed. Seal Harrigan, who was interviewed about a year ago, expressed interest and will be re-interviewed next week for that seat as well. So the board will have 2 candidates for the 1 seat. And then Summer Residence Advisory Committee, you'll be interviewing the remaining incumbents to this committee on the 30th. Unfortunately, they were not available for tonight. That's why you'll have 3 candidates from the Summer Residence Advisory Committee before you on the 30th. I know, again, we were talking about waiting a week, but I'll ask the chair at a later time, or the board if you want, as a whole right now, if you'd like to put them forward on the 30th, even though you'll be interviewing them that same day. They're all incumbents, and there's 2 candidates, Rob Wood and Robert Goodman. Rob Wood, I heard from just today, asking if he would be able to be considered still. Robert Goodman was interviewed September 16th, 2025, and he has also expressed interest. So you have a couple of people you had interviewed previously who are still also interested for those seats as well.
And you do have, you've outlined where we can go back and look at that
Yes.
interview. Okay, that's good, because I do not remember. Thank you very much, Kathy. You do a great job with this stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, that is the end of our business agenda this evening. We are going to have an executive session, and I think I will rely on, Dean, do I rely on you for the executive session motion?
I'm going to let Randy do it tonight.
Okay, all right, okay.
Given the state of my voice.
I understand. I
Sure.
totally understand. Ms. Potash, please.
So executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, in parentheses, 231 and 243 Kroll Road, 31 Meeting House Road, 0 Taylor's Pond Road, end parentheses, if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the governmental body with no return to open session.
That is a motion. I need a second.
Second.
That's,
Okay.
that's your motion? That's a motion?
That's the
That's
motion,
the
sure.
Yes, sir, that's the motion. Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Potash?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Good night, Chatham. Thank you very much.